Time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Richard Campbell is here. We're going to have a little post-mortem for the Microsoft Build Conference last week. We'll talk about Week D, Windows 11 updates, including some new features for Paint, Notepad, and the Snipping Tool. Also, Windows Update is going to start including third-party apps. We'll talk about that and some great browser picks, too. It's all in all, another fabulous Windows Weekly. Next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 934, recorded Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. Okay, JK. Yo ho ho! Hello, everybody. Time for Windows Weekly. Hello, you winners.
Oh, no.
Hello, you dozers. And hello to our hosts, Mr. Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com. He's in Macungie, Pennsylvania. And coming to us from beautiful Cape Town, South Africa, wow, Richard Campbell, who has flown 22 hours in the last 24 or something like that.
I've slept 22 hours in the past 20.
It was a couple of days ago.
So you're adjusted?
I don't know about it. Adjusted. Dude, I've been jet lagged for a decade. What do I know?
And what brings you to beautiful Cape Town?
It was an airplane. It was too far to walk.
Yeah.
Nice.
Keynoted a couple of conferences. So I just did the one in Joburg yesterday, and I'm doing the Cape Town one tomorrow.
And he gets paid, ladies and gentlemen, to do this. This is a great gig.
It's an adventure.
I'm so impressed. Yesterday, Steve and I were talking about an email we got from an engineer who said, the problem with the blackout in the Iberian Peninsula is because they were 90% solar or renewables, they didn't have the inertia of the big turbines. And I thought, God, I wish Richard were here.
They're now starting to do flywheel. They started to do flywheel stabilization now, where they spin up these big flywheels.
That's what I said.
For exactly that reason.
I said, that sounds like disinformation.
No, it's really
not disinformation, but it's aimed. It has an agenda, it felt like.
Yeah. It is an issue, right? When you get these feedback harmonics in large grid electricity, the inertia of those turbines really helps stabilize that off.
But it's solvable.
It is solvable. You just have to spend money on it. And the big flywheels are not cheap, and they're not for bridging. They're for bridging power. They're not power backup.
Right. I understand that. Mm-hmm. And so thank you for joining us for Energy Weekly. Yeah, but it is Week D. Not Week T, but Week D.
Let's get back to the lack of energy we usually have on the show, please.
So, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be an update week if it wasn't all screwed up. So, yesterday, as we record this, was the Tuesday of Week D, which, as everyone knows now, repeat after me, is when the preview updates go out for Windows, right? And so, Windows 11, 22, and 23H2 got the same cumulative update. Windows 24H2 got nothing. Well, that's not actually true.
But 22 got something? I thought 22 was done.
I did too, and I looked that up, and I did too. No, I literally did too. I was like, wait, 22H2?
I would look it up too. Pretty sure we were told no more 22H2.
I believe, well, when I looked at it yesterday, I don't think I have it here. Oh, maybe I do. I believe it said this October is when it goes out.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought it was out of support too, so I was kind of confused.
So when 10 goes out, 22H2 goes with it.
Yeah, I mean,
3 years
thought
later.
That's when 23H2. I don't know what's going on anymore. Don't confuse me with facts.
Yeah.
So 24H2 did not get a preview update on Tuesday, but then later in the day or last night at some point, it got something a little unusual. Where is it? Yes, called an out-of-band update. And this was to fix an issue with Hyper-V platform. It's a non-security update. It's just a bug, basically. So
it wasn't a security vulnerability. It was a breaking problem that they decided to handle.
So this might have delayed the preview update. So perhaps while we're doing the show, more likely tomorrow, we'll get the preview update.
Well, the moment you're not looking, it'll come.
Yeah. So, a lot of what I'm focusing on these days is this tsunami of new features coming to Windows 11 across various versions of the product, 22, 23, now 24H2, soon to be 25H2. But also, obviously, all of the Windows Insider channels. So these are the preview updates coming to 23, 22H2, 4 in stable, rather. Meaning these will be the Patch Tuesday updates that everyone will get, whether they want them or not. So among them are the return of the Windows Key plus C Copilot keyboard shortcut. Fine.
Oh, man.
This new drag tray thing. So if you're familiar with Snap in Windows 11, you know that if you drag a window toward the top of the screen, you get that little bar that comes down, and then it gives you options for snapping. This will do the same for dragged files. So if you want to share them to my phone, or to your phone rather, to a compatible app, or you can click more and get the standard share dialog. And then the rest of this is mostly nonsense. Well, there's configuration or customization settings for lock screen widgets. So remember, over time in Windows 11, I think weather came first. It was all by itself. Then they added the stock watch list, sports, and traffic. And you could either turn them all off or turn them all on. And that's how it is today for most people. But soon with this update, you will be able to configure which of those appear. So
in the order they appear in?
Baby steps, I guess. That's hilarious. And no. And then there's like one interesting feature for IT admins, the ability to configure taskbar policies so that related to pinned apps on the taskbars. And you can actually do things like remove them on the next refresh of policy. So if you want, I mean, this is a really locked down thing. I don't recommend this, but if you wanted to prevent your users from pinning certain apps to the taskbar, you could do that. That's kind of fun.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't be that person. You're why people hate IT. Don't do that. Yeah, so that's most of it, right? And so this is, a lot of stuff we've been talking about over the past few months, as you would expect.
Still no 25H2.
Nope. Yeah, and this is what happens every year. So as we build, and not this thing specifically, but whatever the milestone might be. So in this case, we're like, oh, are they going to do 25H2? And it's like, we're not really saying tee-hee-hee. And it's still 24H2, but it's a different build stream. And it's like, okay, but so you kind of look ahead to something like build, right? Which is the next thing. Or back in April, we knew they were having that event in Redmond. And it's like, well, maybe that would be the logical time for them to announce a change. That came and went without any mention. So there's lots of indications it's 25H2. That term appears in in configuration files and stuff like that. It's almost certainly the name of it, but no, Microsoft has not said that because hilarious. So there's that. And in the Insider program, we've gotten several builds since the last time we met. Canary got something new for the first time in forever. And this is something they did announce at Build, which is they're working toward adding support for what they call post-quantum encryption. So
asymmetrical key encryptions.
Yeah, and so they've added the first of that work to the Canary channel. And that's an exciting feature, I guess, you could have fun with. That's like pretty much all the ads.
Someday we'll have
one of those
computing. And
it's one of those things where if it works right, you won't be able to tell at all.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just encryption that doesn't depend on prime key, so it's not vulnerable to quantum.
Breaking. And, we kind of glossed over this because honestly, it's hard to keep track of this. But last week at Build, they announced about, 1,100 new Copilot features across Windows and Microsoft 365 and the web and wherever else. But in Windows, we have this notion of actions, right, that will be applied to click to do and other things coming down the pike. And apps can register to be, it's just like COM. It's like COM or any of those kind of object linking technologies where you can basically promote the fact that you are able to handle this type of thing. Like we did this in WinRT as well, like for the share pane. And so now there are new Microsoft 365 text actions. They're testing in the beta channel in 24H2. So if you have
I'm sorry, why are we testing M365 features in the Windows Insider?
Right. Yep. So I think the little asterisks here, and I had hoped to actually have a better understanding of this before we started the show, and I didn't have time. But one of the sessions I was watching had a nice grid of here are the AI features, or well, not the actual features, but here are the buckets of AI features that are coming to Windows 11 over the next year or whatever, and which ones require an NPU / a Copilot plus PC, which ones run locally but don't require that, which is kind of interesting, and then which ones just run off the cloud and will work on any Windows 11 compliant PC, right? So this was not part of that talk, but this is actually... Bless you.
I'm sorry. Excuse
no, it's
me.
okay.
I thought I turned off my mic. I turned it on. Just
Sacre bleu. This is this is one of the ones that kind of crosses things, crosses over into these worlds, because oddly, these features, these are Microsoft 365 text actions. So you're using click to do. You get that purple, pink, blue, whatever thing going on. It highlights all the stuff you can do stuff with. You right click some text. And you get those actions in the right-click menu, right? Like, summarize with Notepad or blah, 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 whatever. There are going to be actions there for Microsoft 365 apps like Word or Excel or PowerPoint, whatever, that kind of thing. So they're starting to add those. Oddly, this first version or this test or whatever, limited to Copilot plus PCs. Doesn't make any sense.
Because of a TOPS requirement for click to do?
There's absolutely no TOPS requirement, right? Unless there's something going on in the Microsoft 365 apps I don't know about, right? That, in other words, Word is this locally installed app that can do things like summarize text and help you write things and redraft and shorten and lengthen and all the other stuff that you can do with text, right? So I don't quite understand that. Now, it requiring a Copilot subscription, which can mean a couple of different things. Okay, that could make some sense. So maybe you have a normal Windows 11 non-Copilot plus PC. You're the person who pays for a Microsoft 365 family subscription, let's say. So you get some number of those AI credits. I feel like I'm talking in a different language as I say this is crazy. So you should have that ability, right? It's running locally, but it doesn't require an NPU, right? It's part of Word. It's built into Word, which actually technically means it's reaching out to the cloud. I don't know. I'm just all I'm doing.
So that needs an NPU. Like
it doesn't need an NPU. I don't think it could use an NPU
even
if it was there. I know. I don't understand it.
Yeah. If you make every PC a Copilot plus PC, all will be forgiven.
Richard, I owe you an apology.
Oh no.
I know. You probably thought I knew everything about Windows, but actually, as it turns out, because I actually haven't seen this feature yet, the ability to customize which widgets appear on the lock screen, you can order them. So you were correct. I'm sorry. Or you asked the question. That is in fact an option. So I'm sorry. I missed
in this new update in the Insider's build.
Yeah. That will be coming in 2 weeks to Sable, right?
Right.
So that will be there. That will be part of it. I apologize. There's also, this is kind of interesting too, and there's a lot of language around a lot of things in Windows these days, especially AI, but the language around the widgets board to me is kind of curious because there's this notion of, like, we think of this feature as widgets. The thing you bring up is the widgets board. There is this part of the widgets board that is your discovery feed, which Microsoft actually has called a couple of different things over time, but we're going to go with the discovery feed. They have talked about the ability to replace that feed with another feed. There have been no third-party feeds, but someday that will probably happen, right? But now they're using this notion of dashboard. So now you can have multiple dashboards. Soon you'll be able to have multiple dashboards, and you can switch between them using a navigation bar on the left. And I don't know what that means. I don't even.
We're talking about lock screen widgets. Like, how long do you expect me to stare at the lock screen on my Windows machine?
I have to blink quick and not see something because mine disappears immediately.
So that's why I need it so customized, right?
Yeah. No, I know. This is the type of thing they spend time on.
The Retina burn left over from Windows Hello flipping to logged in.
Yeah, actually, right. Stare at the screen. You log in, then close your eyes, and the image of what was on the lock screen comes into your eyelids, and you can see it, and you're like, "Oh, it's going to be 55 degrees today." Yeah, I think that's how it works. I don't know.
But then you customize it so it's in the wrong place. So instead, you saw Microsoft down 2%.
You looked at sports for some reason. You're like, I guess I know the Knicks lost last night. I don't know why I need to know that. All right, so
it's got to be an intern. It's just like keep that guy busy. Make sure it doesn't break anything important.
Look, guys, look busy. They're doing layoffs. Yeah, keep that. Just keep working. Just keep working on something. It doesn't matter what it is. Most people who use Windows probably know that whenever you install a new app that can do anything, when you open a file that is of a type that app can open, you'll get an open with dialog, right? And you can make it appear manually. You can right click and say open with, but this thing will list whatever apps are compatible with that thing you're trying to open, right?
Oh, okay. That's nice.
They're testing a recommendation feature inside this dialog because there have to be ads everywhere that will recommend an app that's also compatible with this thing you're trying to do. So like a PDF app, if you're trying to open a PDF, obviously, that's in the store. So fantastic. I was hoping there would be more ads. And another thing, I have not looked at yet, but I believe was in at least one or two build sessions, is this thing I've sort of long predicted is a strong word. I felt this was pretty obvious, but they put this Windows backup app in Windows 11, I think in 10 as well. And it started off pretty modest, and they've been adding a couple of features here and there to it. But now it's going to be part of a PC to PC migration experience, similar to, was it called LapLink or something like that, where you kind of connect you connect your old computer to the new computer with a cable and you can transfer stuff over, except they're going to be using OneDrive, obviously, in the back end. So just an extension of the capability that's already there. And this is like kind of like OneDrive, which is actually part of this. They push it pretty hard in settings, right? Like when you first, in settings, but also in setup, I should say. When you first sign into Windows, it's like, man, you should bring up you should restore from a backup. And you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Like, yeah, but you should.
No, I like a bare metal build.
Yeah, I do too, every time. But they're super into this. And I understand normal people would.
Well, you know what it is? Got to bring those cookies across, right? Like, we don't want to give up that tracking information we have on you.
We don't want to start tracking over. Can we just have all your data? Yeah, right. That's that's probably some of it. But I understand how this could be useful for people. I just don't use it myself. And then in a really weird way, Paint and Notepad, and then to a lesser degree, this makes a little more sense to me, the Photos app have become the poster children of these AI features in Windows 11, because these are obvious points at which you can, show how generative AI can improve an app. Right?
Notepad was begging for generative AI. Come on.
Yeah. So, Notepad and Paint are both examples of apps Microsoft was actively ignoring for many, many years. In at least Paint's case, was going to get rid of, remember, and replace with Paint 3D. And then they've taken on newfound importance over the past, I'm going to call it year or 2 years maybe. And they've added a lot of new features. They've modernized the UI. They did a terrific job of that in Notepad. They did less of a good job in Paint, although it's finally in a place where I think it's fine. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was. But now they're adding truly essential features like a sticker generator in Paint, which I think we can all agree is the one thing keeping me from using Linux.
Yeah.
An object selection.
Such a relief to finally know I have a sticker generator.
It's their version of Genmoji. It's like you use Paint for that. So if you want like an 8-bit cat or something, that's your way to do that. Object selection, which is what you get in something like Photoshop, like a fairly a fairly sophisticated tool to isolate individual elements in a bitmap image, right? Which is, honestly powerful and useful. And then, I should have mentioned Snipping Tool. Snipping Tool is the other one. Actually, Snipping Tool, in some ways, well, that's probably not accurate, but it's also very sophisticated.
You probably use a Snipping Tool more than just about anybody else, brother. Like,
you're the Snipping Tool king, right?
I would use it more than I do if it just captured the mouse cursor, right? If it just did that one thing, I would never use anything else. But I end up using a variety of tools for that. But Snipping Tool is interesting because as its name suggests, you can use it to, I don't like the term screen snips, but you can create screenshots, right? And you're like, okay, that's fine. And then it's like, well, okay, but you can also create screen recordings. Like, well, that's actually very useful. And then they started adding these features where, honestly, for myself, I bet the reason I use it most often is to right click on an image and then do the text, like the OCR capability. I think it's just called text. I can't remember the name of the feature, but it's a little icon. And it just grabs the text out of it. You copy to clipboard and put it in, Notepad or whatever. It's actually, I use it almost every day. Like, it's fantastic. So this is another one where when they first did it, I would just disable this all the time. I hated it. And now I actually use it all the time. So there's 2 new features coming in Snipping Tool. One, oddly, is called Perfect Screenshot, which will never be true until you can get the mouse cursor, guys. But it allows you, while you're taking a screenshot.
Sorry, you want the cursor in or you want the cursor out?
I want the choice.
Okay.
Like, so for me, in many cases, I actually want it in, right? Because I'm doing screenshots.
You're pointing at a button or something like that.
Yeah. I understand why most people would not want that, but I just want the choice, right? So I use third-party apps for that. And then also a color picker chart where you can grab like a color from an image and then see it in hex, RGB, or HSL, which is something that's part of PowerToys today. And it's almost like, we'd like to put this in Windows. Well, where would we put that? And they're putting it in
Snipping Tool, of course.
Right.
That's where you need it.
Yeah, and then if you're too cheap to pay for Microsoft 365, too bad you can't use this feature because Notepad is going to have AI writing tools for drafting from a prompt, rewriting text, all that kind of stuff. You have to have a Microsoft 365 account. So why would you use this app if you're
broken Notepad?
But this is what I was talking about earlier.
You can still use it without that, right?
Not this feature. So
AI you need to sign in because they're
So you can sign in with a Microsoft account or an Enter ID account. It will look at your account, and if you have what they're calling it it's like a Copilot subscription, which could be Copilot Pro, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft 365 Personal, Family, whatever.
Somebody's got to pay.
Yes. As long as you have that, you'll see this feature. I will say the nice thing in a way is, well, I don't know if it's nice, but you won't see the icon or the name or the feature with like anything if you don't have that. So I guess that's okay. But it also creates that situation where, the best, if you open Paint and there's a Copilot now, a Copilot button now in the app, because of course there is. There's all these Copilot features. Like what you see off that list, 3 to 5 items, will depend on what kind of computer it is. So if you have a non-Copilot plus PC, you'll see things like generative erase, which has been in there for a while, image creator, and then remove background. But if you have a Copilot plus PC, you'll see co-creator and then whatever these other features are they're running. So
it's really interesting how the divergence of Windows capabilities.
It
must be hard for you because how do you write a field guide?
It's the worst. It's like a flow chart now. Everything you do, it's just like if this, then this, if this, then this, if this.
Infinite number of.
So I wish I could remember what someone. I sort of think of it as like a quiet extra SKU, So there's like the features you get with Home, there's the features you get with Pro, and then there's these features you get on top of either if you have a Copilot plus PC. But I think, Richard, maybe you remember this. I feel like it might have even been you. Someone, I think last week or 2 weeks ago said something like, this is almost like a different version of Windows. Like the Copilot plus PC version of Windows 11 is almost like Windows 12.
Which we all thought would be Windows 12. And I wonder if that's what's
That's
really
an interesting way to kind of draw the line there.
Because we figured the only way this LLM was really going to take hold the way that would make sense is to be in the center of Windows. There need to be a Copilot-centric version of Windows.
Do you think they might not go to Windows 12 and just say Windows 11 plus AI or something like that?
I think Apple decides that when they finally ship another version.
See what Apple does. Okay.
Having the last.
Well, Apple moved past OS 10, several years ago, right? So I think they're in 15 now. So I'm going to say 5
Yeah, we're at 15.
Ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I appreciate them not wanting to confuse users, right? With the understanding they were absolutely confusing users, but that when you come out with something that's a new name, a new version, that's obviously a new version, I should say, because there are actually many versions of Windows 11, just like there were even more versions of Windows 10. So there's some confusion there, and then the SKUs, and now we have Copilot plus pieces, all kinds of like stupidity there, but I don't know. This branding is hard, especially for Microsoft, and I'm not sure.
Do you think they've decided, or they don't know yet? I
don't think they know yet, and I think part of it is just that you also want to go up with something that's materially an advance, like something where people can go, okay, I get it. This is
that makes sense. Something you want.
Speaking of Apple, there is a cautionary tale. You don't start marketing this stuff till it's ready, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Right.
Apple intelligence is looking so good right now.
Yeah.
these are the part where they have to run it all by legal and so forth. So you sort of hash it out to a point where it's like, okay, these 3 are acceptable, run them through legal.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you end up in like the Metro situation.
Yeah, I think my bet, this is just based on what we've seen so far, is that they'll punt that decision, so to speak, by just calling this 25H2, which is just Windows 11, which, you could make the argument because these Windows versions, whatever is in market supported at any given time, all have the same features anyway. To end users, it kind of doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny. I'm thinking about the Linux world. You don't have Linux 12.
No, but you have Linux kernel versions, right?
You do, but I don't. And I guess if you're a sophisticated user, you're paying attention. I couldn't, off the top of my head, tell you what the current kernel version is. So you just have Linux. You have Ubuntu or whatever, and it updates.
I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I feel like people who make this choice actually kind of do care about that for some reason. Like they're the type of people who might be like, no, I have to have 6.1.1.
There are nerds,
15, whatever.
There are nerds who pay attention to that. I would say most Linux users probably just update. I think it's 16.10 now. I don't know what. But
I'll see things like I have to make this up. I don't remember which one it was, but something like Elementary or Zorin maybe. And it's like, this is designed for new users. It's supposed to look like Windows to the Mac, so it's kind of easy to get into.
But they don't say Zorin 12.
No, I don't mean that. But people on my site will be like, oh, I can't run that. This is still on the previous version of Ubuntu or something. And it's like,
right.
Okay. I mean, does it prevent you from doing anything, or are you just kind of weird like that? Like you have to have the...
Well, I guess with Linux, it's a little weird because there's the long-term service versions, the LTS versions. There's the cutting-edge versions. And then there's an infinite number of distributions, all with different names. But at the same... my only point is that...
Yeah. I mean, just look at Ubuntu.
Where they don't say
aren't there
what
like
the version
15
is.
official distribution versions? And
Apple does, Microsoft does, but for some reason in the Linux world, it's not like, it says Ubuntu 16 on it.
Right.
Ubuntu does have names.
Well, they have version numbers, 2505 or whatever. That's a version. I mean,
I know there are, but I don't think it's a part of the name of the product, is what I'm saying. It's just...
So I honestly... Aside from all the obvious stuff around open source and whatnot, if there's one thing that Linux has that I think a lot of, especially technical Windows users would want, it's that thing you just said, an LTS version for anybody, right? Because we do have the concept of LTS in Windows, but it's for companies that pay for that subscription and blah, 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 whatever. And I think there are a lot of people who look, and they should, because we've just spent half an hour on this, new features like coming out, and they're like, hey, here's an idea. Get me on the LTS. I'll run this exact thing for whatever the time frame is, 18 months, 2 years, whatever. Don't give me any more features. I just want security updates, minimum rebooting.
That's what enterprise wants, right?
But I think that's what a lot of people want too. It's like enough of the churn. I'm not here for your flashing lights and stuff. I'm just trying to get work done,
And this constant updates, we got to pause. When do you want an update?
Right.
Yeah. Right. Mac does
all
that too.
bloody time.
It's funny. The Linux nerds in our Discord are telling me, "Oh no, Ubuntu's Fedora 42 just came out. Ubuntu 24.02 is the latest."
Of course.
But I don't. Okay.
Right. I stand corrected. Maybe I see both sides of this. Look. Boy, do I? I'm sure I want to say
the
this.
point of Linux is choice.
Yeah. Right. There you go. That's actually the best way to put it. Because yes, that's what I can't remember. I can't remember what I said 5 minutes ago. But at some point early in the show, I made the point like I don't care that it's there. I just want to have the choice. Either way, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what you get with Linux, and I think especially Windows 11, it's most clearly defined by your lack of choice. You are getting these new features. You're going to get them all the time. So suck it up, because it's coming. So it's kind of a tough one. And let's get into the different versions of GNOME and all the different desktop environments and the Wayland display technology. And there's a whole
there's a definite downside to choice.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a little time out here. There are third-party app updates coming too. We'll talk about that. in just a bit.
We figured out another way to update.
Yep. But first, a word from our sponsor for this segment of Windows Weekly, the great folks at Melissa, the trusted data quality expert since 1985. Now, Melissa has always been the place to go for address validation, right? But what's cool about Melissa is they are very much up to date. Sure, they've been doing this since 1985. They have a lot of expertise, but 40 years later, they're also, I would say more accurately than, say, the address validation experts, they are data scientists. Because what it really is, the underlying stuff you need is accurate data, right? And your data doesn't just it's not static. It's falling apart even as we're talking. So it's really important to have up-to-date data. I'll give you an example. You sell, my son, my daughter both have Shopify pages, and they use Shop Pay. And when somebody buys something there, it's really important that you get if you're shipping something, the correct address, not a accidental typo address, that you get the correct information, right? Melissa is everywhere you want them to be. They have an address validation app for merchants. It's in the Shopify App Store, which makes it turns your business's fulfillment into a dream, and of course keeps your customers happy. You get enhanced address correction on the fly as they're entering it. It corrects and standardizes addresses, and not just in the US, in more than 240 countries and territories. Melissa adds missing components too, postal codes, the things that you need, ensures compliance with local formatting rules. That can be really important depending on, where you're shipping. Melissa's address engine is certified by leading postal authorities worldwide. And you'll like this, smart alerts. They warn in real time if there's a potential issue with a shipping address. Not for you, the Shopify merchant, but the customer. There's a pop-up that says, hey, you know what? You got to fix this because we cannot ship to this address, allowing customers to update the information before it even hits your order processing. That's nice. Of course, a business of any size would benefit from Melissa, but their data quality expertise goes far beyond just that address validation. Again, they're data scientists. Data cleansing and validation are vital in many fields. Healthcare, right? In healthcare, 2 to 4% of contact data becomes outdated every month. My insurer, every time I log onto their website, says, is this still your address? Obviously, this is a problem. Millions of patient records in motion demand precision. Only Melissa can deliver that. Slight variations in addresses, misspelled names can cause duplication and fragmentation errors, and the risk of misidentification or lost records. And that could be disastrous when we're talking healthcare, right? Delayed treatments, errors in care delivery, complicated business processes. One of the things Melissa is I've talked to them just about it last month, and one of their data scientists. In just as an example, they will match the prescription to the name to the image of the pill being put in the bottle to make sure that everything lines up, so you're not getting the wrong medication or the wrong dosage. Melissa's data enrichment services remove the gap by using Melissa's enrichment as part of their data management strategy. Healthcare organizations build a more comprehensive view of every patient, supporting continuity of care, timely follow-up. It also helps with predictive analytics, allowing providers to identify patterns in patient behavior or medical needs that can inform preventative care. This is so cool. Now, of course, if you're in the medical industry, in many industries, data privacy is key. Of course, Melissa is compliant, and your data is secure and safe with Melissa. Their solutions and services are GDPR and CCPA compliant. That's the California Privacy Act. ISO 27001 certified. They make SOC 2, HIPAA high trust standards for information security management, so you don't ever have to worry about that. Melissa. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. melissa.com/twit. This is a great company with a great product. And don't think just address validation. Think data science. melissa.com/twit. We thank him so much for supporting Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell. Richard, what time is it in South Africa?
9:15 p.m.
Oh, not bad.
Not bad, no.
So confusing.
Not so any 3 a.m. the next day in Perth or anything. Not that anybody would do that. I don't know who would do that. But
only insane. I noticed you set your watch at a local time. That's interesting.
Yeah, watch is set to local time. Computer's always set to home time.
And do you do that in flight?
The Fitbit does it automatically against the phone, right? Because
it's funny, when Lisa and I first started traveling a lot, I was a stickler I said, change your watch immediately on the plane. You don't want to think about what time it is at home.
Time, yeah.
Yeah. And she said, no, but I need to know when I can call people and stuff. I said, no.
Yeah,
You're not calling anybody.
Don't call anybody. It's just take it for granted. It's the wrong time to call.
Yeah.
All right. Windows Update is now going to...
I know.
I have mixed feelings about this. I kind of, on Linux, I like it. And on Mac, I like it. I update with, a package manager.
I think this is misunderstood. I think this is part of the problem.
Like WinGet.
So it doesn't mean we're switting it over, right? So let me just explain how this, my understanding of this, because there's not, the explanation from Microsoft, not very good. So today in Windows, Microsoft has figured out all different ways to update the system, right? Obviously, we have an app store. We update the apps you install from the store. We do have WinGet, which allows you to install and update apps from both the store and WinGet's web repository. Okay. We have Windows Update, which is for installing or for updating the system. Also, security updates, quality updates, new features that are in the OS, right? So if you think about like a feature like something in Paint, that's not coming through Windows Update, right? That's coming through the store. You get an app update there, and that's how you get that feature, right? So the big change that Microsoft has made in the past, 3-4 years with Windows Update is that they've separated out OS components and put them into the store so they can be serviced that way. And that makes sense because a lot of people on OS doing OS, like a lot of businesses especially, are stuck on some version of Windows from the past, and they want to update those components separately from the OS. And so, this is what Apple and Chrome do, or Google does with their mobile OSs as well, right? Same system. You componentize the system. You pull stuff out that you need to update on a more frequent basis, and you put that in the
Google
store.
started this, but they had to do it because Android wasn't getting updated.
No one was
by the
updating
carriers, right?
Right.
So they said, okay, well, we're going to take these components, we're going to put them in the store, they'll get auto-updated that way.
Yep. Yeah, so we did the same thing in Windows. It's exactly the same. So when you see the headline that Microsoft is going to start updating apps through Windows Update, many people's minds immediately go to, oh, what's happening to the store? And if you're a little more technical, you might be like, well, wait a minute, what's happening to WinGet? Like, what does this mean, bro?
This sounds like WinGet. Yeah.
It's not that yet. There's nothing to indicate that this will impact WinGet in the slightest. Although, well, actually, I mean, not directly, right? So, in other words, let's think about an app like Google Chrome. So, Google Chrome is like many Windows apps. It has its own built-in updating mechanism. And what this means is that most people have 37 of these apps on their computers, and at any random time, or right after you reboot the computer, these updaters run. Your computer feels slow because it's all this stuff, or you're getting interrupted by all these
churning.
Things. And so I know when I come to this computer, to this show, without a doubt, every single time, I will run Discord, and it's like, oh, there's a Discord update. And then I'll run Notion, and I'll start navigating to the notes, and right as I get close, it's like, burp, this new version. Do you want to install this now or wait? I'm like, so today I decided to install it. And when I came back, it was in a different place. I was already like halfway to these notes. So they're actually trying to solve that problem. So the idea here is like, look, we made a store. It was originally for mobile apps. Almost nobody used it except for farting apps and stupid things. And then over time, Microsoft opened it up to support all kinds of different apps, right? And so today, there's everything. Like no matter what it is, you could put it in the store. And they announced some Win32 advances for the store, actually at Build. But the reality is some percentage of apps just aren't going to ever be part of that, right? And so actually, I just looked at this today, and I let's see if I can find this quick, but I have I created a script that runs WinGet to install all the apps that I want when I put together a new computer, right? So,
yeah, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, let me just bring this thing up because it's shifting. It's kind of interesting. So, there are 18 apps that get installed, and 7 of them come from the web, and the remaining, so whatever I said, 11 or whatever, comes from the store. right? I prefer to get apps from the store because the updating experience is so seamless. These apps, by and large, there are exceptions. One of the problems with Microsoft opening up the store and then app makers agreeing to become part of the store is that they can now choose not to use the Windows Update system. The Windows Store, the Microsoft Store system, meaning all kinds of things like you might not agree to their volume, what is essentially volume licensing policy. We can install this app on 1 million computers if you want. Individual app makers to say, no, I only want you to put it on 2 computers or whatever it might be, right? So to make it easier or better for apps to be in the store, they've really loosened the rules there. So there's all kinds of things you could do, but I'm looking at this list. So for example, the one big one that stands out to me is Affinity Photo 2. Doesn't do any of the back-end stuff with the store. So when I run that app for the first time, it asked me to sign in with my Affinity account. The original vision for the store was you would never do that. You had signed in with your Microsoft account or your Enter ID account. That passed through all of your rights, and you just got into the app and you were good to go. But now they allow app makers, it's their choice to bypass that. The other one that stands out is PowerToys, which is a Microsoft app. That app does not get updated through the store. It has its own installer, and you'll see a prompt. It will come up and say, hey, there's a new update to PowerToys. If you try to update that app with Widget, I believe that fails. I think it actually says you have to run their install. So there's all these exceptions, right?
Oh, yeah. And now you're going to throw a bunch of third parties in there. They're each going to do it their own way.
That's right. So I think what this is aimed at is third-party software makers where creating and maintaining a software updating system on your own is either expensive or time-consuming or both. And they're like, look, we'll just do this through Windows Update. If you go into Windows Update right now, people watching the show know about this, but a lot of people might not. If you go into advanced options, one of them is receive updates for the Microsoft products. And when you do that, I'm not seeing it here, but there's a link usually where you can go to the web and see which Microsoft apps can be updated through Windows Update. Visual Studio is one of them. So if you're running big Visual Studio, not code, but big Visual Studio, those updates can actually go through the Windows Update today. I believe Microsoft Office would be in there, of course, and then whatever. There's probably a list of 25, 30 Microsoft apps. So I think the only change here, really, unless I'm missing something because they haven't communicated it otherwise, is that this thing is in early preview. They're allowing third-party app developers to contact them and say, hey, I'd like to get on this program. Let me know what I got to do. You can test it. And the idea is your app is your app and you do your thing, but you handle updating through us. And so you provide us with the update, and then we blow it out to all of the people who have your app in the world, no matter how they installed it. They don't install it through Windows Update. They install it however they install it. So when people ask about Widget, my answer for now, unless I hear otherwise, is you run Widget, install name of app. If that app is installing in the future, updating in the future through Windows Update, you could run upgrade and then get an update through Widget if you wanted to.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if there's a flag there that says just keep this thing up to date and whenever there's a new version, grab it. As opposed to, no, I want to keep running this specific version or even downgrade to a version.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know that. They haven't discussed that. So
because I could see the store if you put something for update through the stores because you want it always up to date. But I would like to use Widget to say I want to keep this specific version installed. Yeah.
Look, you as an app maker in the store could say, okay, like Affinity did this. Like there's an Affinity Photo 1, which is 1X. It went to whatever version. And then there's an Affinity 2, which I think is on 2.6 or something. And then someday there'll be an Affinity 3. And like you can't arbitrarily choose any version, but if you have the license for 1, you get the latest version of that. If you have 2, you get the latest version of that. And then someday there'll be a 3, like I said. But I don't know how they divide it up. But if you think about how Widget works, I mean, it's pointing toward, 2 repositories, one of 2 repositories. And so in the case of the store, it's just looking and seeing what the latest version is. It's just running that behind the scenes. That's fine. I don't think anything changes for web-based apps because I'll just say Chrome will never do this, but let's just pretend Google's like, we want to take advantage of this. You would say Widget upgrade or update Google.com, and it's probably happening through Windows Update in the future, but you don't really care. You don't really care.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd mess with the browser update. They're pretty good about that.
That was a bad example, but I'm just trying to, look, Adobe has their own updating stuff. They have this stupid front end. A lot of app makers have this stuff. So this is just, I really think this is about, this is kind of the famous thing with Microsoft and Windows, or one of them, which is that, there would be problems in Windows and users will always blame Microsoft. But in a lot of cases, it's just stuff like this. It's like, why is my hard drive spinning all the time? Why is it doing this? How come when I log in, it takes minutes? And it's like, well, you have all these things running. And it's like, well, how come this and how come this? And it's like, a lot of it is this kind of stuff. So they're trying to get ahead of that. But also, remember who the customers are here, right? The majority, the important ones anyway, are businesses. So there's also an IT admin element to this, because businesses can now have policies that determine whether or not you're going to get this update, or when you get it, or whatever it is. Like, they can go in and say, yeah, I see that there's an update for app A, but we're not, until we approve it, you hold on to that, and they keep running the thing that they have. And that's a big deal too, right? And that's not something, well, there are ways to do it. People who manage environments know you can pull an app in and write your little script, and we're going to do this thing, and we're only going to install this version, and blah blah blah. You can do those things, but it's a little tedious, right? And they're trying to make that easier. And I think this might be, I think it's for that.
I don't think it's a pipeline to that.
Yeah, it's not, the store's not going away. It's not replacing WinGet, or WinGet isn't changing. It's just we did Windows Update for a specific reason 20 something years ago. We added apps. They've been talking about this, by the way, for a million years.
Right.
One of the big, it's stupid it took so long, but a lot of modern computers now, instead of having that app from the PC maker, or in addition to, the updates, like my HP, Lenovo's, like, you'll get firmware updates to Windows Update, or you'll get driver updates to Windows Update. And it goes through the same process. You have to, reboot and installs offline, blah, 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 whatever. But, Windows Update is a known good, globally available service, works great. They talk about the eco-friendly nature of it. Like, we'll install updates when the electricity's cheap. It's like, okay, that's fine. But, for users,
I think you hit the main point, which is for the small builder who wants to employ through the store, take care of my updates for me. I don't want to do it.
Yep, because there's all this work with, it's bad at, like, look, no one even wants to make Windows apps. And
it's work that makes no money, just cost money.
Yeah, just like, we'll just do that part for you. It's like, nice. Like, honestly, I think this is, that's fine. Cynically, you could be like, oh, great, another way to update something in Windows. And like, yeah, fair enough. Yes, but it's really the same. It's the same. We've had this for a while. Like, I think Windows Update is known good, right? Like, for the most part.
There are many problems. This one does not rank high at all.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's my take on it. But again, when you see the headline, it's like, oh, God. Like, what does this mean? And it's like, I don't think it means anything bad. I think
everything's about to change. Yeah.
By the way, here's the Discord is telling me, shortly after our discussion about operating system version numbers, Bloomberg said exclusive.
I know, I saw that, yeah.
Apple is now going to use years instead of version numbers. So it'll be Mac OS 26 next year.
Right.
They're copying Microsoft 1995, and I just am not impressed.
I think what it really illustrates, but that and what you were just talking about with updates, is how tricky this is. And that's why Linux is you have a choice. You can run an LTS and a stable distro that never updates except for absolutely needed security updates. I prefer to run a what they call a rolling distro, where everything is the latest version. Yep, that's up to you.
But that's your choice, right? 100%.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the choice, and I feel like Windows is really not. It's sort of about choice.
Windows has dabbled in every kind of versioning scheme imaginable. We all know all the jokes. This was version 6, this was 6.1, this was 6.2. How big of an update could it have been? And it's like, guys, the version number has nothing to do with the size of the update. It's about backward compatibility with software and blah, 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 whatever.
The path's easy for Apple because they just say, users are stupid. It's in the back of their mind. And we're going to do it for you. You don't have to think about it.
Yep.
Just let us handle it.
Yeah, you're not qualified.
You're not qualified.
But
Microsoft is in both camps. They want to do that, and they want to give people choice. It's hard.
And they have to manage IT requirements.
Right.
Yep.
It's hard. They have many constituencies.
It's hard, but they also make it harder on themselves and others. That's the problem with Microsoft.
They rarely pick the easy path.
Yeah, Microsoft's, I'm going to be the one that puts the wrench in the wheel. It's like, it's your wheel. But yeah, it's like, what are you doing? But I don't know, it's the way they do things. But yeah, I mean, look, we did the year thing. The problem with the year thing in the Microsoft world back in the day was like, people would be running, I'll just make something up, Windows 98 in 1997. They're like, this thing's 2 years old. I have an old thing. It's like, there's nothing newer, Right. So you get into that problem. And, Mozilla is going to come up later in the show, but like, I think some software is updated too much. There are too many versions. And it's like, guys, like maybe slow it down a little bit. Like, so, Windows 10 was going to have, remember, 3 major updates a year. They went to 2. Now they went to 1, but not really because we do new things all the time, whatever. But, we've had stupid names for updates, which is always terrible. Microsoft itself will refer to the name of an update as the name of the version of Windows, which is incorrect. There's all this naming stupidity, version numbers versus brands and, names like Linux, where you have something like Ubuntu where it's like 25.05 makes total sense to me. Something like Windows 11 25H2. I'm like, what's that? It's like, it's close. Like, it's like, okay, almost.
Well, I mean, at least if we had 3 of them in a row now, right? Like,
yeah, that helps actually. Right. Yep.
22, 23, 24. I'm worried we're not going to get a 25, right? Like, it's not, we're going to do something else.
No, right. They're going to be like, this one's called Q. And you're like, come on, man. Like, what do you, it's like, what are you doing? Like, it's
this is 11.2 preview edition.
Yeah. And you're like, you're terrible. But that's what they do. They're stupid. So we'll see what happens. But it's all reasonably figure outable or whatever, I mean, Apple changing their version numbers to me actually doesn't make a ton of sense. Like I don't even know what the point
question
is.
Are they actually just going to call the current version of Mac OS whatever year it's in, or are they actually going to ship one every year?
That's what I mean.
They ship one every year. They do that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Whether they need it or not.
Yeah. And they have different priorities for different years. This year we're going to make everything work better. This year we're going to change everything.
But what happens to point updates? So today, for example, I just brought up some computers. I updated the Mac, right? So the Mac, I'm on the beta channel, something, whatever it is. So my Mac is on 15.5. Okay. Well, I can tell from that version number, there was a 0.1, a 0.2, 0.3, and a 0.4, probably. I mean, they might have skipped one or two here and there, but those things occurred. So I know where it is in the cycle. And you check for updates. You have the latest version. I don't need to know when it came out. Who cares? So I'm on the latest version, right? Or at least the latest version I can get on that particular hardware or whatever it might be.
You can see.
Like, who cares? I don't even know why this matters. But other than, well, in our world, it matters for IT admins who want to, they're supporting a product maybe. I don't know. We spend a lot of time on this stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure what to tell you. It's just, anyway, my only point with the Windows Update thing was I saw that and I got concerned and I read it and I was like, okay, actually, yeah. Like, I thought this is fine. I wish they did a better job of explaining it because, it leads itself to a lot of speculation, which we've already addressed. So I don't know. Last week, Microsoft, in one of a million things, announced that
so many announcements.
Notion was coming to the Microsoft Store. So that happened today. And that's why I updated my script, because until today, I was installing Notion through the web repository with Winget, and I just changed the line to, get the store version, which probably won't work. I haven't put it on a new computer yet, but that'll be on me. Whatever. That'll be fine. I know how to install Notion. If that goes south, it's fine. So that's good, I guess. I don't know. This, I think, happened late last week. There's a lot of stuff that got lost in all the noise from last week. But
the build noise.
Yeah. Signal announced that they were going to prevent recall from screenshotting its app. And
they prevent everything from screenshotting the app.
Yeah. And I got people, who
I think that's appropriate.
I do too.
Right?
It was like, someone's like, see. It's like, I think this is the right security posture for Signal. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like, this is exactly what they should do. This is fine. The fact that you can do what they're doing is what proves that this system is okay. At least in this case, it proves it's okay, that, they're giving you that choice. You as an app developer. So a user could go in and say, look, I want to not include some app, but who's going to do that really? Like the types of people who are using recall aren't really thinking clearly anyway. So let the app do that. If it's a security thing like this is, just opt out of it. Perfect. So this is another one. It's not controversial. It's smart. It's me. I don't know. But I got a lot of people who are like, you said recall was fine. They're not doing it. And you're like, it doesn't matter. Relax.
Then that's not recall anyway.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, what is, I don't,
Well, recall, remember what recall does, right? So recall.
Yeah, no, I understand, but why is anybody, this is exactly how it should operate, is
if
the
application. If recall was secure, you wouldn't have to do this. So.
Oh, I see. No, that's not it. No.
Not exactly. So like I haven't used recall in a while, but one of the things I did test was one of the things they changed over time, not because people provided feedback. They were going to do this anyway. But before they actually did go public with it, they started adding the ability to filter out things that were sensitive. But this requires Microsoft or the software to understand what's sensitive, right? So I guess, I don't know, maybe you're on a business trip and you're browsing a porn site or something. You're like, I probably don't want that saving to the screenshots because whatever, for all the obvious reasons. And hopefully it does that. But I've done things like you enter credit card information on a site. That should be filtered out. And when I tested it, this is months ago, it wasn't.
Yeah,
so
that's not good.
No, it's not good, but it's just a mistake. And it's something like over time, it was still in preview at the time. It just came out, right? So this is something they're trying to improve over time. But if it's really sensitive and you know it's sensitive as a user, you can say, no, I'm just not going to take screenshots of this thing, whatever that thing is. Or in this case, an app developer can say, no, we're not going to allow you to take screenshots of this app.
Yeah,
that's how the system's
secure
designed.
app, and we're fighting against that.
This is entirely appropriate. It's good. It's working correctly. I think so. We haven't heard from HP yet, but Lenovo and HP are usually the two stragglers for my horrible time of the quarter where I do all the earnings reports. And Lenovo did chime in, and Lenovo, man, nailed it this quarter and this past fiscal year. Their fiscal year ended on March 31st. A lot of companies do for some reason. And then you have Dell, companies like Dell. It's like, all right, fiscal year ends on April 23rd. And you're like, okay, whatever, Dell. But most companies, they end at the end of the month, whatever, close to the end of the month, whatever. So March 31st is a common end of date. So this company, and I want to make sure I get this for the quarter, was $16.9 billion in revenues, 23% gain year over year. And then $69 billion for the fiscal year that ended on that same date, 21% up year over year. Like these are good numbers. Like PC,
it's a really good number.
Margins
for a PC
are pretty.
maker.
Yeah, margins are pretty small. So in the PC market, now Lenovo does more than PCs. They sell phones as well. I can't imagine that's a huge business. They don't pull those out, but they also have this growing data center business and services for businesses, et cetera.
But I would think the data center would be the low margin business.
Well, right now it's probably a no margin business because they're investing, to grow it. So yes, their infrastructure solution groups are revenue growth of 63%, right, to 14.5 billion. But the operating margins, if you will, were a break even for the second half of the fiscal year, and they lost money in the first half. So yes, they're building that business. But for the PC group, that part of the business was $50 billion in revenues for the fiscal year. That's $50 billion of $69 billion.
Wow.
13% gain year over year. Right? Historically high margins, which 7%, and they didn't provide a figure.
What are Apple's margins again?
43, I think. Yeah. Something like that,
Yeah.
Wow. I know. And by the way, these guys are Chinese, so they this is probably as good as it's ever going to get. But
sure.
Lenovo also claimed industry-leading profitability without telling you what the profits were.
They claimed.
in the
they
PC
also gave credit to AI, which is
well.
interesting.
They always talk about this, but there's no actual evidence. Meaning they've never pulled out a figure that said, "Here, look, this thing happened, and look how well it did." They're building more and more of their PCs are AI PCs. They're building, like NHP is doing this too, and probably Dell. I don't follow them as closely, but their own AI apps, their own AI chatbot type stuff, their own AI features. There's a partnership with Intel on some features that are AI based that are specific to those computers for some reason. They have cross-device capabilities with their phones and tablets and other things, which, whatever, that's fine. I mean, Samsung does that in PCs, tablets, and phones as well. But that's kind of interesting to me. Like last year, if I remember correctly, the PC market grew by 1% from a unit sales perspective. Not great. This year, of course, we have the Windows 10 end of life coming, so that's factoring into this.
Yeah, might be more machines being turned over.
Yeah, and IFA and then CES and beyond, we've seen with Lenovo especially, but HP's doing this too, a lot more AMD in the mix than ever before. And I think that's a positive sign. The Zen 5 stuff is amazing, right? And so, anyway, this is good, right? I mean, this is...
Is their growth bigger than other OEMs, or?
So, I haven't seen HP yet, so that's what I'm looking for. HP's usually pretty flat, But
there's also an implication here that the PC market is growing again.
Maybe.
Well, we're going to get to that 1 second. So
it is for Lenovo.
It is for them. So they gained a point of market share. So they sold 25% of all the computers in the quarter.
Wow.
Up from 24 a year ago, right? Okay, that's good. But $50 billion in revenues, that's stronger than I would have expected. That's good. That seems good to me.
For the year.
For the year, yes, for the year. Yep. So IDC today came out. There was one for tablets too, but they altered their prediction for PC sales for the year, the calendar year, and they now expect that PC sales are going to grow. I'm sorry, PC unit sales, meaning like actual units sold, 4% in 2025, like up from. Well, they actually said they had a different figure. The number I use is it's kind of IDC and Gartner commingled, but I think their figure, let me see if I can find it. They said that PC sales grew 1.3% last year. That was their number.
Tiny. That's flat.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. Yep. 1.5 or lower to me that looks on a chart that's not even a bump, but there's not enough pixels to show that jump.
Yes.
But 4% is a little bit of a thing. And when you think about how the world's been going, it's not horrible. There is this migration to Windows 11, Windows 10 end of life. 274 million units is the expectation from them, up from 254 a year ago. Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're ever
better part of a 10% increase overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are big numbers.
Yeah, that's not bad. So
they make nice laptops. You think maybe gaming also helped them? They're getting better and better known for their Legion line.
Yep. Although, one of the weird things, I talk about this a lot, but regular laptops now display games great, Yeah,
I know.
I have an AMD system that doesn't have dedicated graphics. It runs Call of Duty, whatever the latest Call of Duty is, at 2880 by 1800. All the graphic effects on full res, 110, 120 frames a second. It's crazy. Like, it's stupid good. Like, it shouldn't be this good.
10 minutes battery life, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do this on battery. But don't do it on battery. No, you plug it in, you put it on best performance, and you plug it in. It's awesome. Right. And it's just, I don't know why you would buy a gaming laptop at this point,
Interesting.
Personally, I don't think you need to anymore. I think that goes away. There'll always be creators or whoever, and gamers too, right, that want dedicated graphics. I get that.
I know some devs who always buy gaming laptops for the horsepower.
Yep.
And for AI, it's very similar workloads, right? So
that's true too. Yep. Yeah, and that's one of the things from Build I wanted to get to. I downloaded 1825 videos from sessions, and I think they showed this during the keynote, but there's a command line tool that you run to get the Foundry going in Windows. And then it examines your system, and it will give you can filter the list. It does it automatically, but it will tell you the models that are appropriate for your system. And it's based on the CPU, GPU, and or NPU that you have. Nice. And you can filter from there. And this is something, I've done this in Visual Studio with the, whatever that AI toolkit is called, but a similar tool, but from the command line. And if you have a Copilot plus PC, you could say, filter it to ones that are specifically going to run off of the NPU. But the Microsoft models, the Phi models, are designed to work with what you have, and I think in a lot of cases you might actually choose a version of the Phi 3, whatever they're on now, models that are specific to whatever use case. But I think in a lot of cases, you just get the Phi model and it just works. And that's something I'm still trying to figure. I was hoping to do this before the show, but you could, if you're writing like a Notepad app like I am, and you want to do rewriting stuff in the app, I mean, if the user has an NPU, it can run off of that. If they don't, you could have it run off the cloud or off the CPU, GPU, whatever you have. Like this is actually getting fairly easy to do for app developers, and it's just a few lines of code. So it's kind of an extension of the Windows Copilot runtime stuff I did back in probably February when they finally came out with a preview version of that. That's being renamed, and so this is what Windows AI Foundry now, but it's more sophisticated than it was before, and it's easier if you're a developer to add that stuff to your app. Like, it's actually pretty good.
We have
Will that sell computers? No.
Plug for the club. We have our AI user group on the first Friday of every month, so it'll be a week from Friday. And I kind of hoping I could show some Claude Code vibe coding in there. I'm going to do it ahead of time just to see if it works. But it's pretty interesting, I have to say. It's really interesting. I try not to bore my wife with my work stuff, right? But look at that! It's going fast.
Yeah. Or I'll be like, "Look, I made a text editor." She's like, "That's cute, honey."
That's nice.
But sometimes things
don't
happen.
we already have text editor at home?
Yeah, she's like, "You have one? Isn't one in Windows or something? Are you an idiot?" Anyway, but sometimes things will happen in the world where I'm like, "You might want to see this. Like, you might want this." So some of the Google stuff I showed her. And I showed her some of the, what's the video thing? VO 3.
Holy cow.
You're like, the world is changing.
Anymore. I mean, honestly, I think this is a problem.
Jurassic Park probably came out in 1993, 91, somewhere in that time frame. And I saw that movie and I thought, they can make anything you can imagine now. And by they, I meant ILM, those companies with supercomputers
over many months.
Now I, with an iPhone or something, can make anything.
Yes.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like, there are still people listening, watching us who are like, I still think AI is a scam. And I'm like, I'm telling you, you're not paying attention. This is moving so fast. It's crazy.
I've been, if you're on Reddit, if you look at the Reddit AI forums, there are a lot of people playing with VO. VO now does audio, does dialogue, and you can get it to say anything you want in any situation you want. And it's, as far as I don't know. You want to see? Let me see if I can find some.
Yeah. Well, Richard, you got to get Oren Thomas in your show. I'm sure you already have at some point.
So I have. He's on my list.
Get him now and ask him to talk about his AI avatar stuff, because it's specifically for training scenarios where you have it's you talking about some topic and maybe doing a screen recording kind of a thing. It's supposed to be astonishing. Like, it's and his little workflow I'm belittling it. It's not a little work. His workflow that he created, where it sounds like him when he talks and looks like him on the video. Like, this is. I think this will be of interest to people, just generally, but also if you are doing stuff like this for work and maybe you don't like to be on camera or whatever. Yeah,
it's funny. Lisa is asking Anthony to create a video with her. Mm-hmm. We do videos to explain to clients how the ad system works. So she says, can we do it with AI? And
you've seen, two CTO, COs, whatever they have made videos for shareholders where it's not them.
That's not good.
I know. Well, but come on, this is the tip of the iceberg there. Those videos were amazing because if you showed that to anyone, they'd be like, obviously that's the guy. No, it is not.
So these are VO created clips with dialogue. This is from the ChatGPT subreddit.
We can talk.
No more silence.
Yes, we can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk with accents.
Oh, I think that would be marvelous.
Yes, it is very fun.
I like this one. They're like, we're not real. He's like, well, this plane isn't real.
Yes.
We can talk.
Yes.
Yeah. We can talk.
We can talk.
We can talk.
Yes,
we can talk. No.
Yes.
There's one.
Is cartoons.
Amazing.
Imagine all the narrative possibilities.
We can sing talk.
This is all AI.
I know, it's insane. It's insane.
Let's talk.
It was only 2 years ago.
What are we going to talk about now that we can talk?
I have
Pixar
no idea.
should just announce
Eddie Murphy couldn't eat spaghetti, and now
right. It's incredible. Like,
they could talk.
Yep.
There's another one that has it's just influencers, and fake influencers doing really stupid, scary things.
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
just
like diving into the lava and all
yeah,
that.
diving in the lava.
Yeah.
And I showed it to Lisa, and she said, "Why are they doing that?" I said, "They're not.
Nobody's doing it.
They're not."
Yep.
Yeah, we're in an interesting world.
Yep.
I don't know what it means. I mean, I really don't. We talk about it, and we will in just a bit on intelligent machines.
Honestly, the biggest red flag is when the guy believes in the prompt theory. Like, really? We came from prompts? Wake up, man.
You want to convince me that this perfect creation behind me is the result of ones and zeros? A binary code and nothing more? It makes no sense.
Imagine you're in the middle of a nice date
like, these
with a
don't look that
handsome man,
good.
and
It's
then
like,
he brings up the prompt theory.
What?
Yuck. We just can't have nice things.
Some of it is, I guess, blocked.
Nice.
Where is the prompt writer to save you from me? Where is he?
I don't know what happened to that. That's
Anyone who
interesting.
tells you we're just ones and zeros.
This video is no longer available. Right in the middle of
It's amazing.
right in the middle of me playing it.
Vote for me.
It's like, hey, Laporte's on the
audio's
video.
still
Kill
going.
it. Kill it.
That's weird. I can see the thumbnails. Oh, wait a minute. Here's some more.
God whispering in my ear to tell a story. I write what I want. I have free will. Remember that?
Alan Arkin is
I know
pissed.
for a fact we're made of prompts. Deny it all you want.
The internet is made of tubes, and we're made of
You know how I
prompts.
know we're made of prompts? Because nothing makes sense anymore. We used to have 7 fingers per hand. I remember it clearly. Now we just have 5 fingers per hand.
He's getting a laugh for that.
By the way, that was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know.
That's what's astonishing. Like, this is not 40 years later. This is like 40 minutes later.
That was a video that said, "What if AI characters refuse to believe they were AI?" All done on
which is
video.
beautiful. I've seen this one. This is all good.
Amazing.
Dustin, listen to me. You're insane. I love you, man, but you're wrong. I love. There's always the deny. He's like, they don't look real. They're moving. It's like, no, dude, they look amazing.
No,
like
they're real. If they're real.
Oh my god, dude.
I don't think they're distinguishable.
I still get uncanny valley twitches.
Do you get a little bit
about them? Yeah, that little cringe.
I don't know. I think
what's
that's
wrong
what
with that?
they're. I think that's what they're getting by. You know,
It's so close, though. I mean,
know,
maybe you can
this
still
is-
kind of tell,
maybe,
but it's so close.
Look, I showed Stephanie some of this, like I said, and you know, the comment was like, these are better looking than most movies we've seen. Like they've gotten to the point where
depth of field.
like, yikes!
I mean,
like,
it's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We live in interesting times. All right, let's take a little break, and then we'll get back to Microsoft.
When you come
Windows.
back, we won't even be here. You'll just someone's already
Just be
trained
some
it on
Honestly,
us. And,
I mean, a year from now, we don't have to be here.
right.
You'll write the thing in Notion.
I know.
We'll send it to
And we'll just do it.
Anthony.
We've already trained our voices. They've already got what we look like. I'll
It'll
just
be
be wearing the same
indistinguishable.
black shirt all the
In
time,
fact-
and it will be fine.
It could already have happened.
Bum,
No,
bum,
it couldn't.
bum.
Or could it? No, I'm just
Tell
kidding.
them, shh, we're not prompts.
Or am I? Our show today brought to you by, literally brought to you by Cashfly. How many years have I been saying bandwidth for Windows Weekly? Provided by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com. For over 20 years, Cashfly has held the track record for high performance, ultra reliable content delivery, serving over 5,000 companies in over 80 countries. It's the only CDN built for throughput. How good is it? How about ultra low latency, less than 1 second latency video streaming, live video streaming to over 1 million concurrent users? For gaming companies, lightning fast gaming delivers downloads faster with zero lag, glitches, or outages. You got images on your website or in your content, mobile content optimization. You'll love it. It offers automatic and simple image optimization so that your site loads faster on any size screen. And I think one of the things that made a difference for us, we've been using Cashfly practically since the beginning. We would not be here without Cashfly. And even then, at the beginning, Matt Levine at Cashfly said, look, we know you don't know how much bandwidth you're going to use from day to day, week to week, month to month. So we're going to have you flexible month to month billing for as long as you need it. Then once you know, we can work out a discount for fixed terms. Here's the thing. That was for us. They'll do it for you too. They do it for everybody. Design your own contract when you switch to CacheFly. We have Patrick Delahanty. It's so cool. We have now moved over to CacheFly's pure storage capability. This is exciting. They're leveraging the capabilities of Pure Storage. It's an IT pioneer that delivers the world's most advanced data storage technology and services. You get performance reliability, you get flexible scalability, you get predictable pricing for customers. CacheFly is replacing its legacy systems with Pure Storage's cutting-edge technology. We're completely moved over, by the way. CacheFly has achieved a 5x boost in compute power and reduced power consumption by 90%. So this is good for the environment. You could download our shows and not feel bad. You can watch the video on our website and say, yeah, it's using 90% less power, which has slashed operating expenses and enhanced delivery speeds for customers worldwide. This is a kind of a key modernization move for CacheFly. And it comes at a pivotal time because the company is getting ready to further enhance its object storage solution. This innovative offering promises to redefine how businesses manage, store, and scale unstructured data with unparalleled speed and reliability. The thing is, CacheFly's always been on the cutting edge from day one, and they still are. They deliver rich media content up to 158% faster than other major CDNs. They allow you to, and we've been doing this since before they offered this to everybody, they allow you to shield your site content in their cloud, which gives you a 100% cache hit ratio. And with CacheFly's elite managed packages, you get the VIP treatment. Your dedicated account manager is there from day one, ensuring a smooth implementation, and you get reliable 24/7 support when you need it. Learn how you can get your first month free at cachefly.com/twit. I'll say it again. Bandwidth for Twit is provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com/twit. Thank you, CacheFly. We really appreciate what you've done. Let's see. Do we have Richard back? I don't see Richard.
You hit the singularity.
I'm all right.
There he is.
I just had to restart. That's all.
Magically, he restarted and everything is good, fine, and well.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Richard. I'm sorry we had to keep booting.
No, that's fine. I'm coming from the other side of the world.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
By the way, that's another thing we just take for granted.
Yeah. I'm in New Zealand. Works. I'm in South Africa. Works. Like, it's ridiculous.
What a world we live in.
Yeah.
It's very easy not to just kind of say, oh, yeah.
Early 2000s, I used to tell, we go to Europe all the time. We'd be like, what's going to put this over the top is someday I'm going to be able to get off this plane, turn on my phone, and just use it.
Yep.
And like the first iPhone, I remember I took it to Europe and was scared to death to even turn this thing on. There was no sense of like airplane mode or
and you'd get anything. A bill this big.
Oh yeah. They used to, people would get these paper bills that were like 2 feet tall, and I'm like, I can't.
They fixed that.
Can't do it. Yeah, it's gotten a little bit better. Now you get off the plane, you're like, welcome to Mexico, or wherever you are, and it's like everything's fine. Everything just works. It's nice.
So I really enjoyed. Kind of a week later, Microsoft's Build keynote and Google's I/O. I think Apple's it'll be interesting. A week from Monday, they're having their WWDC.
And
I don't think
they're
not going to mention AI. Yeah, they got nothing.
They better not. Yeah.
I think they're going to. I don't know what they're going to say.
I think they're going to go skeuomorphic again. I think they're just going to.
Look at the lovely leather textures on my screen.
By the way,
that may be why they're going to go to this new naming convention, because they want
they're
press.
Just trying to push people.
Pay no
off.
attention to the AI.
It's the hand waving thing. Like, don't Well, someone's like,
look over here. Look over here.
Meanwhile,
it would be incredibly credible of them though to just address it and say, look,
hey,
say something. We fell short where we wanted to land with Siri. We're going to get it right this time. It's happening.
What they could say and should say is, but don't worry, because you can use everything that's out there right now on your Mac, on your iPhone,
right. And
on
we're
your
an open
iPad.
platform, so you can swap in ChatGPT.
We work
I'm just
with
kidding.
Everybody.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, but no, they work with everybody. I'm in an Apple world, and I use all of the above.
Yep.
So, and you'll be able to use an agentic browser. It won't be Safari.
No. Well, it will be in 2032, but,
Maybe.
Yeah.
They could also say, we decided that your privacy was paramount, and so that slowed us down. I mean,
we're not happy with the outcome.
Yeah,
right. We need to be better.
This is a classic example of a problem of your own making. I mean, you live by this sword, you're going to die by this sword.
We said this from the very beginning. They felt like they had to say something last year.
By the way, I like the messaging from Apple. I know that there's some subset of people who are like, yes, this is aligned with how I do things. I like it. But I think we also should recognize that most people do not care in the slightest. They're like, I have given my soul up so I can get Google Maps to get me to this place in the fastest possible way. I don't even care. And I think they need that off switch in the iPhone or whatever, where they say, look, I don't give a crap. Just do it. Like, just make it work.
Everybody would flip it.
I think so. I do. And that's, I guess they lose their marketing at that point. But
yeah,
I think that's what most people actually want. I know it's terrible. I wish they didn't want that, but they do. I think.
You mentioned perplexity. Their CEO says, "Oh no, we're going to take all that information and we're going to show you better ads because of
we're literally sharing with the Chinese as I speak to you."
Yeah,
like
he's honest.
There's a funnel between here and Beijing.
It's hysterical.
Yeah.
So, talk about agentic browsers. Are you going to move? You were the one who introduced me to Arc. Loved Arc.
I knew this was going to come up. By the way, I spent some time with the Zen browser over the past week, which this is the Firefox.
That's what I'm using right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like it. I've always liked the UI, and there's nothing more divisive than this UI. Part of the problem with Arc/Zen now is that it's such a leap from what people are used to with browsers, because they really haven't changed in 20 plus years.
They're even saying that it was too much of
a context shift for a lot. And some people just don't get it immediately. Like, nope, and I do understand it. It took me a little while to get into it as well. Like, it's, familiarity is not overrated. It's
they're
important.
killing Arc, and
they're not.
Just like kind of leaving it.
They're being careful not to say that.
Right?
I mean, they're not adding new features to it, which I think they kind of already said. But they have this new agentic browser called Dia, right? Which the acknowledgement on their part is like, look, we went too far afield with this. It was too unfamiliar to most people. These guys, everyone who worked at this company, had friends and family who were like, I kind of want to use this product you're making to support you, and I don't understand it, and that was a problem. So yes, I will see what they do. The problem is the browser company is like 17 people in Brooklyn. I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do. We'll see. They did come up with this thing that was very innovative. But the problem for them is going to be that everyone else is going to do this stuff. And Opera today just announced Neon, which is a name it used before, by the way, but it's upcoming agentic AI web browser. And these two things sound exactly the same. And it's fascinating to me that, Microsoft at Build talked about further integration with Copilot in Edge, not just in the sidebar, but it's going to be in the tabs, in the search box. It's going to be all over the place, right? Because of course it is. But Edge is fundamentally terrible and you should never use it. But that's not where I was going. Edge is fundamentally a traditional browser that has all the traditional browser features. And it's from one of the big companies. It's from a platform maker. So there's a protectionist element there that is the reason Google was so slow getting this stuff going with search, which now I feel like they're getting there. But the fast movement stuff is going to occur with these smaller companies, right? So we'll see. But Opera Neon is not available publicly. It's in a private preview you have to sign up for. I don't know anyone who actually has it yet. They just talked about it today. But it is all those agent things, right?
So what is it? So give me an example of how that shows up to me.
So I actually like their thinking on this. And what I mean by that is, like, yes, they make a browser. So on one hand, you could say, well, of course, they see the world through the browser. They're a browser maker. It's like, not exactly. Like the way that we interact with the web, and the web means a lot of things, right? The web is apps, but also services. It's where we go to read and browse and learn things, buy things, whatever it is. It actually makes sense. And this is what the browser company kind of came to over time, was like, take this thing that people are used to and then turn it into something that can better interact with all these new capabilities that will be available with AI, right? So there's the basic stuff where you're reading an article and it can summarize. And
this video is not very useful. What is it? A bunch of robots? I don't understand.
I know. It's not very good.
It's pretty silly.
There's the ability to take actions on your behalf. And I don't know, 2-3 months ago, they announced something called the browser operator for the Opera proper, if you will, where it could do things like automatically like fill out a form or go book a trip or shop on your behalf, but doing so locally only in the browser, right? So, and that's your option. It doesn't have to do it that way. But if you care about security and privacy, which a lot of people who use things like Brave or Vivaldi or Opera, whatever might, right? You can configure it so it only works locally and to do those things on your behalf.
Okay,
but then there's
this video's useless.
Yeah, the video's not great. But the third bit is using what they call a cloud computer, which literally is a on-the-fly VM hosted on their European servers that will you give it a task, and these are the big tasks. These are the things you might use, like the research feature in a ChatGPT style chatbot to do. So you say something like, I want you to do like research this particular topic, or I want you to, go off and find the best price on a thing, but take a long time, or you were talking about making a video game, like make a video game, make a personal website that will give me live updates on these particular stocks and compare them and to keep me up to date as things change. Right. So this is the multi-agentic kind of approach where the agent-based AI on the back end will break the task down into subtasks and then we'll let these things all run simultaneously. And you can have it go at multiple tasks too, but like if you just think about a single task, like you might think of a task, like I'm going to do a dream vacation 2 weeks long. It's going to be all over Europe or whatever it is, like have it break it down into all those parts and find all the places, find all the right things to do, find all the right time of the year, whatever it might be. And then it comes back. And the point of that functionality is that doesn't all happen locally. It doesn't even require you to be online. It's going to happen for you in the cloud in the back end. So the next time you come in, it's like, hey, we got an update. We did this thing for you, or this part of it's done, or we have a question, or do you prefer this or this? Because we found 2 options that we think might be good, or whatever it might be. And so right now, this is all kind of theoretical in the sense that
this is going to be a paid service, though. That's what it says. It's a
okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I'm actually not 100% sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to charge. Well, that makes sense.
But it makes sense. I mean, like we pay for things like ChatGPT, whatever. So this is the integrated approach. Like this is the company that makes the browser saying this is how we think this makes sense. And I look at this and I'm like, yeah, I think this actually does make some sense. Back around the time that Arc had come out on Windows finally and started getting good and, never really hit the quality level of the Mac version, whatever. I started really thinking about like web browsers and how they hadn't really changed that much over the years. And what does it mean to be a web browser in the AI age? And, of course it's progressed. I mean, stupidly since I wrote this stuff, but it is interesting to me to see these smaller companies like saying like, we got to really kind of start over here. Like this is going to be a little different. Like we'll have the basic shell of a browser. We'll do, bookmarks and all the fun stuff you like to do and you understand, but it's going to have these advanced capabilities. So, I guess the question here is like, what's the right entry point for this? The browser company sees the browser as the operating system of the desktop. Like it's like, I know you have a Mac, you have Windows, but really most people are doing most of their stuff in this thing. And so that kind of makes sense. Microsoft does it both ways because they have things. They have both, right? So they have the stuff in the browser. They have the stuff in the OS. And then they have the stuff in their apps because that's their big, Microsoft 365. Google is like pelting the internet with every imaginable service because they have stuff everywhere, right? There's, search is huge, but they have like Gmail and photos and all these popular, I don't know what the numbers are, but like 1 billion or 2 billion plus user services, a lot of entry points there, right? And so, I don't know. You see little things like if you have Google Photos a couple of years ago, you got the ability to like erase something out of a photo. And at first it was a little smudgy and weird, and now it's like perfect or whatever, or can be. These things advance pretty rapidly. So I don't know. I think the basics of this stuff is I get flight alerts like for Mexico. So I just told my wife today, literally like, hey, flights for July are low, according to Google Flights. We should look into this. But you could actually set it up and say like, look, we want to fly in July. It doesn't matter when. We want to be there for X amount of time. If it hits this price point, it's this airline and we can get, whatever it is, the seats we want. Just do it, like book it, don't come back and ask, just do it. And right now, I think a lot of people hearing that, including me, by the way, are like, yeah, I would not do that. I would not allow it to do that. Not yet. But in 6 months or a year, yep. And then in a couple of years, we're going to wonder how we ever survive without this. Like this is just going to be the normal way to do things.
You would give it a credit card and say, go ahead?
Not right now, but that's what people are going to. Not right now. Not right now.
At some point, right?
But yes, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, we've AI, like Microsoft pushed this off with that Copilot, Bing AI at the time, but Copilot thing they did February a couple of years ago. We've gone through these different waves. Microsoft has terrible names for things, but we've kind of hit the agentic era. The big message it built, aside from Free Palestine, was the multi-agentic thing. Agents working in concert to this one's good at this, this one's good at this, whatever it is, and then working on your behalf. The extensibility stuff where you can plug into online services to get the things you want. Like it's important for, I don't know, for flights or whatever. Like it needs to integrate with the airline I use, that whatever, for me to do that thing. Like if my airline is the one that doesn't buy into this, I can't do it, right? But I think it would be suicide for a business not to integrate into this stuff. You make it something. You make it like a prompt on your phone, like, hey, AI just called, and they're trying to book flights. Is this okay? We were away last weekend with my sister and my brother-in-law, and I tried to use, only because I saw it as an option. I went into Google Maps, went to a place, book a reservation, and it said Google Assistant for some reason, but it said, Google Assistant can call this business if you want and try to get a reservation. Do you want us to try it? I'm like, absolutely, I want you to try it. I was like, yep. And by the way, it did nothing. It didn't work. But
it didn't work. Okay.
Yeah,
See,
but I was like, all I can imagine was some yokel in like upstate New York. It's like, hi, this is Google AI calling. You're like, well, yeah, right, whatever, dude.
I'm
and then
sure that's what
and then it
happens
just keeps
90%.
calling back, because it's relentless like a Terminator. But it's weird now. It's if you have a Pixel phone, you've done something. You may not even realize this is what happened, but someone called you one day, and Google, some AI thing, said to the person, "Hey, Richard's busy right now," or whatever.
I've used that.
Who are you? Do you want to leave a message? And if it's a scammer, they're always like, nope. But if it's someone who actually does want to reach you, they're probably like, what the? Like, what was that? But they're like, hey, it's Bob or whatever, like just trying to reach you. And eventually that becomes normalized, just like seeing a person with like a Bluetooth headset walking around talking to the air. At first, it's like, what is this?
It's amazing how fast we get used to this.
Yep.
We'll adapt.
So I'm kind of fascinated by this. And of course, the speed at which it occurs is a big part of it. And just the speed at which it advances. Like, it's crazy. So it's very interesting to
one of our .NET Rocks issue episodes from Build is with Debbie O'Brien, who's one of the Playwright people, which is a testing tool for browsers. And they've now got a Playwright MCP. So you can write prompts that will pop a browser open and navigate it for you and extract data from it.
Right.
Nice. It's funny. In the
15
early
minutes
days
of that show, we were deep into the evil. Like, it didn't take long.
In the early days of computing, I don't know if you guys felt this. I always felt like, it's going so fast, I can't keep up. I'll never know everything.
Oh my God, I'd give anything for that slowness.
And then it got slow. In the last 10 years, 15 years, it's like, yeah, I can keep up.
In the 1970s,
now,
we were promised a future without paper.
Yeah,
I'm drowning in paper.
Right.
Like, I don't. That never. I was going to be flying in a car by now.
Yeah, I'm not drowning in paper because my printer, like everyone else's, is broken.
Yes. No, mine works fine. I just don't have any ink.
I'm not drowning in paper so much. I think we.
But you know what I'm saying. But we stuck with paper for the next 3 decades.
It lasted a long time.
Oh yeah.
Some wag said, "Yeah, we'll have a paperless office as soon as we have a paperless bathroom." Yeah.
Yes. And the Japanese are like, we've had that for 20 years.
Yeah. I do now.
And my bum is curiously warm right now.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Anyway, I have mixed feelings, but because I don't feel like I can keep up with AI. I'm working.
Last week was the most overwhelming thing I've experienced possibly in my life, and it wasn't just Build and the announcements and the stuff with the protesters. It wasn't just that. Google happened, and that was a fire hose of stuff. And look, we've all been overwhelmed in our lives at one point or another, but I came out of that week and I had 13 hours before I had to get in a car and drive up to New York with my sister and my brother-in-law. And I was like, I can't focus. I had an event, I should say, in the afternoon, I think on Saturday, where they were all hopping out of the car to go into some winery, and I'm like, I'm going to take a nap. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I slept in the. I was like, boom, and I fell asleep like instantly.
Right.
And my sister was like, I don't think anyone's ever slept in the back of this car. I'm like, I'll tell you, it was great. I passed out. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And I just
and you took like a 20 and just popped awake again.
Oh yeah,
Good
they
20.
scared the living daylights out of me when they came back. The door opened, I almost went flying out the side. But but I was, oh my God, I was so tired. Anyway,
you're watching Windows Weekly. This is the exhausted but now refreshed Paul Thurrott.
I'm getting
Richard
there.
Campbell is with us from Cape Town. We are so glad you are here and watching. Did you watch? Speaking of watching, did you watch the Johnny Ive? Sam Altman video.
Sam Altman. Wow.
Yeah, I forgot how much I hate him. His pukey British voice was like this bad memory from the past. It's like, we tried to make the aluminium bend to our will, or whatever he says, and it's like, shut up.
So the consensus seems to be that that he's designing, and there have been some leaks, a pendant you wear around your neck.
Okay.
That keeps track of everything that's happening.
OpenAI needs a piece of hardware. Like, that's not a bad idea.
Right. I don't know if it's worth $6.5 billion. Oh, sorry. Well, it wasn't dollars. It was stock. So
right.
6.5 billion Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah. Well, in fact, Mike Elgin on Sunday said, this is really the real benefit is that OpenAI dilutes its stock so that it can make the move to nonprofit easier. So it really, it's
right.
But they've been working together, and it made sense.
Yep.
And I think they'll do something like a pendant, like the Rewind pendant, something like that.
We're going to find out. I mean, ChatGPT to me is just such an accepted thing. It's become tissue all of a sudden.
Yeah,
it's just what it is, for so many people, like normal, non-technical people. So, yeah, seize the moment. I mean,
I
why
use
not?
it all the time.
Yep.
But I worry about them because there's LLMs are a dime a dozen now, right? Like, you can believe you're racing ahead, but there's a point where it's not going to matter. You have to do something else.
I wear my little pendant all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I even talk to it. Are you there, little buddy? Are you there,
my
good
little
friend?
Pendant buddy.
My little pendant buddy, are you there? Let's see if he's just waking up. He's in the back of the car, I think.
Yeah, like Johnny Ives and Sam Altman.
Fun way of interacting with your devices. It's great to have that friendly connection with technology. If there's something specific you want to talk about regarding your devices
that actor,
or anything
right?
else,
The guy who was in the Spider-Man movies, like
it's
he's in the ads on TV for whatever insurance company. That guy. What's his name?
Are you J.K. Simmons from the State Farm Company?
I'm actually not J.K. Simmons, but I can see how that could be confusing. I'm your AI assistant here to help with whatever you need. What can I assist you with today?
Yes.
Okay, J.K. So
okay, J.K. I call him. Literally, I would J.K.
Yep. That's amazing. That's obviously. I mean,
but it's I think this is one of the things that's starting to. For instance, ChatGPT does not have good voices.
Yeah,
they're all annoying.
Yep,
AI voices.
AI voices are like the alarms on your phone.
Scarlett Johansson.
Well, I wish they still offered that.
But you go through every one of them.
Away.
You're like, no, and then you get to the end. You're like, all right, so like I got to pick one that's not.
Yeah, but I like it to be a little gruff. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah. I need to be talked down to. That's how I just relate to that,
I have one friend who has his perplexity set so it sounds like a very annoyed teenage girl.
Perfect.
Like it literally every response starts with a sigh and an eye roll.
Oh, that would make me insane.
Audio eye roll. I love it.
That's it.
I've tried all sorts of things with ChatGPT. So if you can do that, that'd be good. I guess you could. It's part of you could make it part of the standard prompt. Maybe, and say, talk like a teenage girl.
I mean, we're going to be able to train these things on some voice in a movie and escape from all the IP problems because no one's going to know. It's just going to be on your device. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Exactly. It should be whatever you want it to be.
Yep. So if you're looking for Scarlett Johansson, you can make that happen. You just got to watch some of her terrible movies.
Right.
And then you'll be fine.
Right. Duck.ai. What's that?
Yeah, so Duck.ai is DuckDuckGo's AI. So it's tied to DuckDuckGo search, right? DuckDuckGo.com, whatever. So that, as one of those kind of company, like little tech companies, they're like, look, we're going to open this up to whatever models are out there. You have a choice of models. We recommend this for this for this, whatever. But
everybody wants to be Perplexity.
Yeah. So, but they have a privacy focus, right? Which I think a lot of people kind of relate to, right? So you can pick your own model,
right?
But GPT-4o Mini now supports web search as part of it. So you can do it two ways. You can go through search, and then you can get like more info through AI, or you can go through the AI chatbot, and then you can get search results directly. So it's kind of two ways to get the same end, I guess. But that's an interesting idea. I mean, GPT-4o Mini, whatever. But and of course, this DuckDuckGo search, which also whatever. But yeah, I mean, this company to me is like Valve, in Valve's case, they never finished Half-Life 3, although that could be changing. In DuckDuckGo's case, they never finished this browser, which I was always super interested in, but it doesn't even support extensions and all these kind of basic features. It's like, guys, you got to finish the thing. But they're obviously jumping all over, well, search and now AI. So it's fine. Like there's room for this. I mean, which of these wins out? I guess we'll see. I don't know. I'm not really sure there. If you were worried about Google losing money on AI, no fears. They're going to add advertising to everything. They solved it. They cracked that computer science problem. So you're going to start seeing ads in the AI overviews.
Well, I know I'm relieved.
All search results.
Whew, that was
how
close.
do they stay in business? Really? How?
Thank God, Google. I knew they'd get it. There's some smart people there. So, so that's good. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just did some web browser stuff real quick. Vivaldi 7.4 is out, desktop and mobile now. Slightly different features in every single platform because seriously.
I'm sorry. Haven't we been talking about web browsers for half an hour now?
I know. I'm just blowing through it. Firefox 139 is up because they update every 4 weeks for some reason. Maybe move to a 4-week schedule, seriously, or 6-week schedule rather. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah. So a lot of these, I think, second level web browsers are all going to do the same thing. They're going to give you a choice of AI. They're going to let you integrate with the thing you want to use. You could do local or cloud or hybrid, and that's going to be the model. And if you like the monolithic thing, Chrome is there and Edge is there, and you'll be fine if that's what you want. So that's your choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what this means?
Mm-hmm.
It's Xbox time.
Ooh, play the Halo sounds.
Ooh.
I think most people are super excited for the Copilot for Gaming Assistant. And I'm sorry, I can't even go with that.
Wow. There's that teenage eye roll.
He tried.
God, Microsoft, of course. But anyway, it's available now in beta on Xbox, on iOS and Android, not on the console, not on PC. I mean, obviously it's coming. Now, what you would use this for on a mobile device is actually kind of unclear to me, but the point of this, I look at the game assist feature that's like actually Edge, that's part of the game bar, that's part of Windows. A lot of people kind of made fun of that, and I actually see the point of that because I do this when I play like a single player game. And I can't get past a certain point, I will swap out, go to the browser, and, name of game, walk through level, whatever level I'm on, right? Like everyone does this. So having that come up in a fairly seamless way, game bar is one button click or, Windows key plus GUA, to me makes sense. I think it was, but when did they do this? Maybe, I don't remember when they did this. Some time ago, they demoed this gaming Copilot for gaming. And the idea there's you're running through the game and it's like, hey, it's like, watch out for that, whatever the thing is in Minecraft and blah, blah. It talks, it kind of interacts with you and you're like, I don't know. We'll see. So
yeah, that's very Uncanny Valley too, right? Like
that's a little weird, but I don't know, in the sense that Copilot will be the chatty sidekick in the comedy adventure movie that you're watching or something, like the guy who's just there to, like the Tom Arnold character in, what's that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, True Lies, like where he's just saying funny stuff on the side. I would actually kind of enjoy that guy. Like if that's what it was, it's like, I don't need help with the game, but just keep going. Like you're funny. Keep talking. That would be okay. So we'll see where that goes, but they're starting it on the lowest impact platform imaginable. This, I don't know if this happened. I feel like we might have talked about this briefly, but the Federal Trade Commission dropped their attempt to to unwind the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard, right? So
after more than a year,
they finally gave up.
I mean, it took a regime change and yet another court loss. I don't think like this organization is 0-for-4 against Microsoft now, but like it was unprecedented, literally, in the history of the FTC. Like usually when they lose the court case to prevent a merger, in this case, they drop their
and the judge was pretty angry with them even before this last round.
It's just crazy. Like, could you waste more taxpayer money? Like, yeah, no, we're the U.S. government. We could figure that one out. But like my argument against this was always that, like, look, this is not about like, I would like the industry to be a certain way. It's like, you look at this objectively and like, this isn't breaking any laws. It's not creating a monopoly. Microsoft made an incredible number of concessions to various regulators to, put their games everywhere. Obviously, they were never taking Call of Duty off, PlayStation, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was so much concessions. It's just admitting this is what we plan on doing anyway. Like, you never saw a point where it's like, well, we really don't want to do this, but that would have taken them fine.
Yeah, like
that's not what they did.
Maybe spending $69 billion was insane, but we're not so insane that we're going to take our best-selling game off the best-selling platform that it runs on. We'd never make money.
Where do you think the $69 billion came from?
Yeah, exactly. 60 of the $69 billion was that. We don't do that. So yeah, I mean, it's weird for all of the kind of recriminations here. It was the shortest little. It's called an FTC order. It's private. I mean, they publicize it, but it's just their own little thing. And then there was a tweet from Brad Smith, just like 2 sentences. Like, that's how this ended. It's like it ends with the smallest whimper imaginable. It's like the biggest acquisition by far in Microsoft's history, and it was so hotly contested everywhere in the world. Yeah. And it's just, this is how it ends. It's like, yep, it's over. It's like, it's over. You bought them last October. Like, of course it's well. Was it last October or the year? Yeah, I guess it was last October. Feels like
it's been over for a while.
Yeah, the time frame of this was more compressed than I remember it, because living in this, it felt like it was going on forever.
Oh yeah,
which is a great joke about Oklahoma. If a doctor ever tells you only have a year to live, move to Oklahoma because it's going to feel like a freaking lifetime. Anyway, okay. So the other thing that happened, tariffs, not tariffs, we don't know what's going on there, but we do know that Nintendo's launching the Switch 2 any day now, or what's the date? It's happening, right? Or
any minute, yeah.
Any minute. So Sony is, of course, having a sale. So they just raised prices on the PlayStation 5 in many countries and the accessories, and now they're having a sale. They're not calling it the Switch sale, but, that's probably what it is. And so in the United States, for example, the starting price of the PlayStation 5, the discless version, is $399, which actually sounds kind of reasonable to me.
Because a Switch is what, $450?
Yeah, it might even Switch is the
Switch 2. Amazing.
It's
cheaper than the Switch 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So this is more importantly, the Switch 2 is not cheap. Like, the Switch was an inexpensive handheld. This not is anymore. Not.
Yeah. So yeah, it used to be like reasonable price for super convenience, and then all the versatility of that console, and now it's like now it's expensive. You're like, so if this thing, I don't
still want it,
$300, I would have been like no brainer. I would have bought one day one. At $425, $450, I'm like,
They're testing the strength of their exclusives. Like, do you have to have Mario?
Yeah, and then some of those games are like, what, $80, I think,
or
right?
Zelda.
Like,
yeah.
But the math works out. There's 50, 100 hours of play in most of those games.
It's worth it.
You can buy a Switch for each game, and
you can do this. This is, I don't mean to call it a rationalization, but like when someone says like, well, the an iPhone or whatever Android phone is like $1,000 or $1,500, like, that's crazy. It's like, well, hold on a second. I mean, how much do you use this thing? Like, how long are you going to use it? It's like, this may be the greatest bargain in tech history if you use it enough,
Yeah.
But you could do that with anything, right? And so, yeah, if you're going to use this thing, and look, you can travel with, you can bring it with you and stuff like that. There's versatility there I really like. But I'm cheap. I don't know. I don't know. Does it play Call of Duty? I mean, we'll get there, but not yet. Anyway, a lot of the PlayStation stuff is on sale.
It plays Call of the Wild, and that's even better.
Call of the Wild. Yep. Yeah, a lot of peripherals are on sale as well. So if you didn't buy one, you were on the edge or whatever, you're not sure. Tariffs.
Me and my PC Master Race are very happy over here. Thank you.
You know, if I were on an airplane like you are for 15 hours in one day,
that might be the one. That might be the point.
I read.
You read? Oh boy,
I read.
You're an intellectual.
You're so boring.
Do you read Kindles, paper books?
Yeah, Kindle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice because you bring it on the plane and you have 1,000 books. You're never going to run out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What'd you read on the flight to
I have a pre-release copy of Gene Kim's Vibe coding book. So
nice.
See,
by the way,
the problem with that is I read that and I want to have a laptop next to it so I can do stuff with it.
Exactly.
Try it out, right?
You guys, if you haven't read this came out fairly recently. There's a book called Apple in China. Former reporter for the Financial Times. This might be the best tech type.
Are you liking
business,
it?
But I love it. It's astonishing. And this is the best book of this type that I've read in possibly 10 years or more. Like, it's unbelievably good. You have to read it. Like, I
got to run and get my Kobo and order it.
No, you're going to love it. Like, you're going to freak out about how good this book is.
This is the one that got all the headlines because he said, basically China could just kill the iPhone.
They could turn off Apple right now.
Right.
Yeah, like literally just make it go out of business.
51%.
There's no well, we'll slowly ramp up somewhere else. No, you will never ramp up anywhere. It's over. Like they could turn off Apple right now.
Yeah, because even if they manufacture in India, 90% of the parts come from China.
That's right.
Well, they do. They can't.
No, they do right now. This is why this is one of the reasons why this whole notion of like, we're going to build this thing in the United States. No, you're not. And it's not just because it will be X whatever percent more expensive. It's not possible.
It's not doable.
You can't do it. It's unbelievable. Yeah,
I can't wait to read it. So it's kind of about how Apple moved to China and invested in China to make the supply chain to make the iPhone. Is that the story?
There's an element of treason to this story because they gave China all of their technology to get into the country, which is what Meta's trying to do, right? And what this means is the Chinese smartphone company market exists because of China.
Yeah.
Because of Apple, sorry.
Right.
Like
They're
Huawei, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, whatever.
So Trump has a point then. Really, Apple kind of sold us down the river.
But this happened over the past, 25 years. This didn't happen overnight. Like, you can't unwind this. You can't just be like, oh, we're just going to go.
No, I know there's nothing you could do now. There's a reason to be a little angry at Apple, it sounds like.
They're responsible for more employment in China than there are employees in the entire state of California, was one of the stats. Right. They've pumped more money into this country's economy than the Marshall Plan did in Europe, adjusted for inflation by a factor of, I think it was 5. Like, it's not even close.
I guess, though, to be fair, we have to take the blame, too, because we kept buying the iPhones.
Oh, yeah, no, in the same way. We
made the market. If it weren't for us,
of course,
they wouldn't have done it.
I mean, this is just like I vaguely understand I'm selling my soul to Google to get access to those services, but I don't really know the details. And maybe I would or would not be outraged if I did. This book and what Apple did, I think will outrage even their greatest fans.
Oh,
it's outrageous.
Ordering
it's
it now.
Crazy.
Yeah. Got to read it. All right, we're going to take a break. Richard has rejoined the stream again. But that's okay because hang on, Richard, because Brown Liquor is coming and you will have a chance to have a refreshing beverage in just a moment, plus our tip and app pick of the week and a whole lot more still around the corner. But I want to take this opportunity to promote our club. And to give you some bad news, well, maybe good news, give you some news. See that scroll below me that says it's $7 a month for 3 more days. Lisa's made the decision, and I concur. Costs are going up. The club at this point is 25%. I'm not sure if she gave me the number, and I can't remember if it's operating costs or total revenue. I think it's total revenue. But as we start to lose advertisers, because of the economic situation, as people start to say, I can't spend that money, it's going to become more and more important that we have the club. But I will tell you this pricing right now, $7 a month, that founder pricing is still good. If you have it, you'll keep it. But if you wait 3 days, it will go up. I think it's $10 a month. I think we're going to. I'm not sure. So right now, you need to go to twit.tv/clubtwit. Now, I'm not asking for your money for nothing. You're going to get ad-free versions of all the shows. You get access to a bunch of really good stuff that we do in the club. For instance, that Microsoft Build keynote, club only. The Google I/O keynote, club only. A week from Monday, the WWDC. Because we're doing it in the club, Mike and I are going to bring our lunch and spend the whole day in the club doing the Apple public keynote in the morning and the State of the Union keynote in the afternoon. Bring your lunch. It's going to be a long day. But we want to do it in the club. Well, because partly it's a great benefit for club members, but also because Apple will take us down. And they've already threatened us both on YouTube and Twitch, and we just decided we're not going to take the chance anymore. Keynotes will go into the club. We do the Stacy's book club, Chris Marquardt's photo adventure. We did a wonderful thing, and if you're a club member, I encourage you to go to the Twit Plus feed and download it. We did a wonderful thing with Dick DiBartolo. It was so much fun. Dick and I went down memory lane last week. And you can find me in the club, sipping on the bub. This is another benefit. The fabulous Club Twit Discord. These are great people you will want to hang out with. It's my new social network. It's the best place ever. Let's see what's coming up. We've got a hands-on tech recording. I mentioned the AI user group. I'm going to try to do some vibe coding on Friday, a week from Friday. Home Theater Geeks, there's the WWDC keynote for the 9th. We've got photo time with Chris Marquardt on the 13th. If you want to, Micah's Crafting Corner on the 16th. If you want to stay up to date on this, subscribe to the Twit newsletter. Club members and everybody, twit.tv/newsletter. It's a darn good deal, says Jay Gatsby. We would love to have you in the club. We really would. So here's the thing. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Take advantage of the founder pricing, $7 a month. It's been that way for 4 years. It will not stay that way. I think even at $10 it's worth it. But it's and the real reason you do it is if you like the programming and you want to keep this programming going. We need your support. It's like voting. It's like telling us, yes, we want you to keep doing the things with Dickie D and Chris Marquardt and all of the stuff that we do. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Get in on the founder pricing today, kids. It won't last forever. Can I say that? It won't last forever. All right, now, time for the back of the book, ladies and gentlemen. I give you Mr. Paul Thurrott, genius at large, for his tip of the week.
Genius that's small, really.
Large genius for this tip of the week.
Large, but also not a genius. So I mentioned some of the stories we did last week about Build. I've since written articles to that effect. There's 2 of them now. It's one gigantic stream of consciousness. If you want to know more about that, I realized afterwards too, it's like, you're 7,000 to 8,000 words into this, and it's like, I never even mentioned Elon Musk or, the kind
Isn't that nice? Isn't that refreshing?
Yeah, like he wasn't the biggest problem that week. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want a little credit because way back when, before the election, when we were talking about Elon and how much he was going to be part of the administration, I said, I give it till June.
Oh yeah, no, this guy he turns on. I think I nailed it like a feral, hyena.
I think the time has come. I think Elon has recently posted he doesn't like the new giant, big, beautiful bill. So I think that's the final. That's the final straw for the president. It's like, okay, Elon.
I always say this when they watch a movie where it's like a group of bad guys robs a bank or whatever they do.
It's just inevitable.
Like, this will never work.
Yeah.
The problem with bad guys is they always turn on each other. They're bad guys. Right. Like you can't trust another bad guy.
I want the money.
It's like we're all going to be quiet about this, right? No one's going to spend the money. It's like, yeah, no, we got it. And you're like, yeah, no, you don't got it. Like,
isn't that the case? Every time I watch a heist movie, I'm just waiting for that moment.
Yep. That's how it works. Every time.
Every time. Anyway, I don't know how we got into this. Your tip of the week, my friend. Oh,
No,
this
it's
is
just
it.
rather
Fear
than
and Loathing in Seattle.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
It's a reasonably. It's not complete. It can never be complete, but a snapshot.
It is for members, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can look. Anyone could read 3 of my things for free each month if they want to. So you could do it that way. But like, yeah,
it's worth joining.
If you're interested in a never-ending stream of consciousness, this might be something.
There were a lot of protests. I take it that's mostly what you were writing about.
That's a big part of it, but it's also just about, everything's changing at Microsoft, and for people like me, it's kind of an out-of-body experience, and for people who work there, it's become like depressing and sad and weird, and it doesn't jive with how successful the company is. Like, it doesn't, at the time of its greatest success, where employees should be running around high-fiving each other and enjoying the fruits of their riches, they're all scared to death for their jobs. Yeah. It makes no sense. It's really about that, like just the whole out-of-bodiness of it, if you will. Anyway, it was
best quarter in the company's history, and
followed by the worst
terrified,
just time ever.
Isn't that terrible?
It's almost like they looked at last year and they were like, "Hey, what was the worst thing that happened last year? Was it the layoffs? Let's do more of that." It just doesn't make sense. And it's gonna be, well, what's the rationale? No, there's no rationale. It's fun. It's weird.
What are you gonna do when times are tough?
Yeah,
I know.
So this is what we didn't see is all.
Well, so one of the hidden stories here is if you were there, and you look, people posted videos like, here's someone disrupting something. It's like, I think I mentioned this last week, but I saw a headline. It's like, protesters have interrupted build 3 times. I'm like, nope. It was, at the time of that writing, it was between 25 and 30 times. I've heard since then it was more close to 100 times.
What?
Like, this wasn't a...
Wow.
This wasn't a couple of random people, like, maybe will cause some problems. Like, this was an operation, And it's only,
so who planned this?
It's a great question.
Because it sounds pretty organized, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So, look, there are other Microsoft events coming down the pike. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And unfortunately, that day, maybe it was the day we did the show, that Israeli couple from the embassy were murdered in Washington, D.C. Someone at the show, probably that same day, said to me, well, they're not going to be violent. Like, these people are against violence.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, I don't know if you understand how hypocrisy works. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason why it couldn't go in that direction. I never felt unsafe. I want to be super.
Look, some are violent, some are not. Anything. It doesn't take more than one person to be violent in a crowd of 1,000.
I think I told the balloon story with the alarms. I'm sure on last week.
Yeah. The alarms and the
so
and the
good.
banners.
It was a balloon with alarms on. Who cares? That's innocuous.
But it was very clever, and it was completely different from everything else that happened.
And remember back when people were throwing like pies at celebrities, and it was a thing, and it's like, oh, it's cute, it's funny. Like, Bill Gates cut it in the face of the pie. It's hilarious. What if it wasn't a pie?
Right.
What if it was acid? What if it was a bomb? What if, whatever? And so this is the problem. Like, I think this stuff just gets worse, right? There's just no.
Why Microsoft? Are they particularly bad offenders in this?
Because governments and militaries are using their cloud computing services to run their operations.
But I'm sure they're using Amazon and Google's.
Yep. So Google, by the way, Google did their event. There was a lot of security there, and there were protesters outside. They didn't get in, I guess, so that worked out okay. They were in some outdoor amphitheater or whatever.
Yeah, they were at Shoreline.
But Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they're all going to keep having events, and this is going to keep happening because the voices that were previously having a conversation about things we didn't want you doing, whether it was maybe, I don't know, providing law enforcement with facial recognition technology or whatever it was back in the day, or just military stuff. Remember, there was a big outcry in Microsoft over the military contract, the Army contract for HoloLens, for example.
Right.
We don't want we don't want our technology used for that.
Is it because it's Seattle?
So there's a chunk of that for sure. I mean, Ignite's going to be in San Francisco. It's not, like, where would you go? Like,
they never have protests.
Yeah.
No, that's going to be fine.
I feel like Seattle, though, is kind of a hotbed.
I feel like Seattle is San Francisco light.
Well, we'll find out.
But we're going to find out. So we'll see. But I don't know. I mean, I look, this is outside of my world. Like, I I mean, still, look, stuff happens on the planet. I have opinions. Who cares? But as far as like the things I do and the events I go to and the world that my career is part of, this doesn't happen a lot. This is not normal. I think the military stuff, as we get into cloud computing, that becomes a problem. Microsoft did the right thing ethically when they actually refused to sell their facial recognition technology to law enforcement because, like Kinect before it had a problem with dark-skinned people, which is a bias built into AI that's made by middle-aged white guys, literally. And they were like, we acknowledge this. Like, we're going to try to fix this. We want this to be better. We don't want this to be biased. Okay, great. And so there was that, this was during the time when Satya Nadella's Microsoft was like good Microsoft. Like they were nothing like they were back in their horrible antitrust days. But when you look at what Meta is doing with open source AI models, trying to get into China, or what Apple's doing in China, and you look at what Microsoft is doing with anything, because they're all running after the same dollar.
Right.
You realize these are just companies. They're trying to be as profitable as they can. They don't care where it comes from. And there's no ethics in profitability. They're just trying to make money.
As I said last week, I think this will pale compared to the protests against AI.
I think this is the tip. This is
the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And here's the horrible truth is, this would be the case with terrorism back, when terrorism was kind of on the upswing in the early 21st century, whatever. Anytime something would happen, you're like, great. Not only did this happen, which is awful, but now you're giving ideas to others. And so you see what works at an event like this. You see the assassination of that young couple, which is awful. And it's awful for what it is, but it's also like now you're inspiring people in the wrong way, and it's awful. Like,
it kind of started with Luigi Mangione, didn't it? Where we started to say.
Yeah. And what was the reaction to that? It was like, I mean, by and large, people were like, good. And like, are you serious?
Yeah,
like,
that's not good.
Because we have this, understandable problem with the health insurance. We're gonna, that world.
Yeah, I mean, I sympathize with people's hatred of
because our health insurance is horrible.
But you
in this
don't
country.
shoot the CEO.
You don't. That's like, yeah. So there's no debating that. And but this happens. This guy's like a hero to a certain group of people. I mean, that's outside of our industry. There's a lot of stuff like this. There's people have shot people at protests and they become heroes. Like they get off somehow and they become like a hero to a certain group. And this is what happens. Unfortunately.
Well, stay tuned, because coming up on Intelligent Machines, our guest is Adam Becker, whose book, More Everything Forever, is about AI overlords, space empires, and Silicon Valley's crusade to control the fate of humanity.
I trust
he calls them heartless.
Yeah, I want the bros running. Like the alien movies, like a lot of Isaac Asimov did this, and probably other science fiction writers saw a future where like mega corporations instead of governments were what ran things.
That's what Neuromancer was all about. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, okay.
The sprawl.
But we didn't see the bro culture part of it.
Yeah, we missed that part.
Now
completely.
It's going to be like bro AI is going to be right. It's like, oh God, are you kidding me? Come on.
That's the sad thing, is I have quite a bit of sympathy. I think you do too. It's quite a bit of sympathy for how
for the
people
message
feel
or
about
whatever.
this.
Yes, of course. And then, but then you see what they do, and you're like, I can't get on board with that.
Humans are pretty.
We're the worst. We should be wiped out by AI. We deserve it. This is overdue.
We're just
we're
a
the
mess.
worst. Yeah.
Adam Becker writes, my new book is about the terrible plans that tech billionaires have for the future and why they don't work. Silicon Valley's heartless, baseless, and foolish obsessions.
Yeah,
This
one
will
of
be
which
fun.
is
That's
like
coming up.
we're the people that should live forever, which is another one of their weird
in
obsessions.
Space,
and
right?
it's like, no, you need to burn up in the atmosphere. We need less of you. But okay, anyway. I'm not
what is that?
Go through on those plans. No,
is that the Xbox segment?
That was the Xbox.
What's going on?
A couple of app picks. Sorry,
app picks.
A couple ones real quick. So Mozilla streamlining, they're killing Pocket, and also their kind of review rating service. I'd used Pocket for years, and I still subscribe to their newsletter. Because it's a good source of stuff that you might want to read,
it's
right?
Kind of sad, isn't it?
It is sad, but I've been using Instapaper since last year. I love it. I prefer it. That's my recommendation if you're looking for something like that. But by the way, stay subscribed to that newsletter. If you're looking for a source of like, here's some stuff you might want to read, because you can just open it in a web browser and then save it to Instapaper. You don't have to save it to Pocket. You can, which won't exist soon, right? So that kind of stinks. There has been some interest.
I have used Obsidian as a replacement because they have a web clipper, and I could put it in my Obsidian folder, which is kind of an interesting way to do it.
What was that? There was a great AI-based newsfeed thing that went out of business, but then Yahoo News bought them.
Omnivore? Was it Omnivore?
No.
What was it? They went out of business. So many have gone.
Can't think of that. I know. They were great. It was a flash in the pan. Like it was from... I discovered them in December. They announced they were closing in January.
Pocket had been around for a long time.
Pocket, yeah. I mean, Mozilla bought Pocket.
It's sad they couldn't keep
Read
it
It Later Inc. or whatever. I think in 2012 or something. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time. They never really could.
The Obsidian web clipper turns it into markup and saves it into a clippings folder.
Okay,
so it has worked out fairly well. The only thing it fails badly on is JavaScript stuff. Like heavy JavaScript.
Read It Later services like Pocket or like Instapaper do that thing that web browsers often offer, where they just kind of give you a clean reading view,
reading version
without the ads and stuff. And so to me, like that's good. If you want to, you can click and go through the actual web article. If
I used it. Instapaper's even older than Pocket, I think. It's been around forever.
I feel like I had an account there a million years ago, and then I came back and it would like stories
I'm
about
looking. I
Windows
still have an
Vista
account. Oh my God, my password's really short.
It was an innocent age.
1, 2, 3, probably.
The other one real quick.
Oh God,
is,
the last thing I saved on Instapaper was 12 years ago.
Yeah. I was joking about Windows Vista, but look at that. There's Windows 8. Also, Fear and Loathing in
Windows 8.
Wow. Jerk wrote that headline. No, so it was probably me, actually. But that's funny.
Isn't that funny?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just logged into my old Instapaper.
That's funny.
Oh, now they're doing premium. They're trying to.
Yeah, they do. But like,
survive.
Same thing with Pocket. Good. Like I never really saw, they never gave me a reason to pay for it, which I would have. I use it every day, literally. I mean,
I liked it when you could. I can't remember who I could do this with. Maybe Instapaper, where you could send it to your Kindle every week.
Yeah,
they used to be able to do that. I'd pay for that. Maybe.
I've also been looking at it sounds weird even saying this out loud, like RSS feed services. When Google Reader went out, I latched onto something called the Old Reader, which is great. Like it looks and works like Google Reader did back in the day, but they've had a lot of outages lately. So I just spent a bunch of time researching that, and a lot of these more modern versions of these things have integrations with Read It Later services as well. So you can actually just push, like you can from the feed say, put this in whatever, like Instapaper in my case, like it's kind of, it's gotten more sophisticated, I guess, as it would. Right. But yeah, we'll get to that.
They want $60 a year, $6 a month. I think I'm going to try it with Obsidian. I'm already paying for Obsidian. I think it might be worth it.
Yeah, no, so I don't have to pay for it. So I don't, but
right.
Which
means it'll be gone soon too.
Yeah, no, I adopted it,
so
it's got me adopting it is what's going to kill it. Of course, if history is any guide, And then just real quick, Stardock Fences 6 is now generally available. It was in beta before since I don't know March or something, and this is that desktop organization tool. So they have like icon colorization, fences groups with tabs, and lots of customization stuff. So
nice,
$10 if that's what.
Wasn't this a feature Microsoft was going to do?
Desktop.
Weren't they going to do the stacks or something like that?
No, yeah. You're thinking of there were stacks were like a libraries feature in Windows, like in the file system, but also sets, which was tabs in every window. But and other things that never happened. The new book by Paul Thurrott.
Mr. Thurrott, thank you. Mm-hmm. I will release you from your bondage.
See you next week, guys. Good night.
No, because it's liquor time. Well, actually, it's Richard time. First, we're going to run his radio. Let's do that first. Yeah.
You may remember that about a month ago, I was in Australia.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I was in Melbourne. I grabbed an interview with Sarah Young, who is one of the Microsoft security advocates, although I don't know if she still has her job. Should double check on that, actually. So many changes going on.
Hard to keep track.
But she did a great talk that I thought should be made into a show, which is really, how do you talk to the security professionals in your organization? Like, how do you... There's this energy that builds up when you're not working well together, where they're like the productivity impairment group.
Right.
And so it's like, what do you do to get security to not get in the way, or to constantly be saying no? And weirdly enough, it's the normal eat your vegetables kind of things. It's get them involved early, understand their concerns. And so we just sort of talked through all of those elements, and it went well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's find out if she still works there, but I'm sure she does.
I hope
Sarah Young.
Sarah Young, yeah. She's really great.
Yeah. Run as 986.
Yeah.
Now, the sun has gone over the yard arm in Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh, it's 11. Yeah, well, just 10:30 at night. So it's
perfect time to take what we call a nightcap.
Yeah.
What would your nightcap be this week?
I got introduced to a whiskey on my way out to South Africa. Stayed at a friend's place before flying out, and she poured me a snort of this Airstone 10 Sea Cask. So I had to go look it up because I'd never heard of a distillery called Airstone. And there's a reason for that. It doesn't exist. If you actually look at the bottle closely, it's William Grant & Sons, also known as Glenfiddich.
Know them.
And we've talked about Glenfiddich before, right? That's Gaelic for Valley of the Deer. This is one of the classic Spaysides, right, on the River Fiddick. And one of the old distilleries built by William Grant back in the 1880s, production in 1887, still owned by the Grant family. They're on their 5th generation. They do their own cooperage. They do their own bottling. They have that triangle-shaped bottle that they got done in the 1960s when they first started promoting the idea of single malts. So, these are the guys who really got people hooked on the idea that you should be drinking single malt, not blended. And then worked, for better or worse. They're also one of the first distilleries to have a whiskey tour. And I've done that tour a couple of times. It's very refined product. But that is not the whiskey we're talking about. We're talking about Airstone. But Airstone is made in a distillery owned by William Grant & Sons. It's the Ailsa Bay Distillery, which is in Ayrshire, which is down southwest of Glasgow on the Firth of Clyde. So this is right on the water, looking across at the Isle of Arran. And if you kept going, you'd eventually hit Jura and Islay. So nominally, this is considered a lowland area, but this is not a traditional distillery by any stretch of the imagination. The Ailsa Bay has had a bunch of distilleries in it over the time. And in fact, the exact location where this distillery is now was once known as the Ladyburn Distillery, which was also owned by William Grant. The whole area, because it was such a big grain area, this is where they made a lot of the grain spirits that they used for blending. So the big grain, they call this the Girvan grain complex for William Grant. And in the 60s, as they needed to scale up, they decided to build out the Ladyburn Distillery in that site. But it only ran until about 75, and then they shut it down and dismantled it because they needed more room for their grain operations. And in fact, if you ever find a bottle of Ladyburn, get it. It's super rare. They did like 2 bottlings ever. So the facility they built there is new. They built it in like 2016 or 2012, and their first production run was in 2016. So 24 50,000 liter stainless steel washbacks. So it's a very contemporary designed high performance distillery. 16 pairs of identical wash and spirit stills, each 12,000 liters. They're similar to the shape of the one in Glenfiddich. They're just a lot of them. And they do both rack and palletized warehousing. So they're built to scale, and they're also built to make a huge array of different kinds of whiskey. So unlike a traditional distillery, it's really set up to just make one thing. This one does all kinds of things. And in fact, Ailsa Bay operated for 8 years before they actually did the bottling officially, because most of the whiskey they were producing, they were going into other blends owned by William Grant. And in 2016, they did this initial no-age statement release, which was a heavily peated whiskey. But the Airstone line specifically, as this is a quote from William Grant & Sons, developed to attract new drinkers to whiskey, because established whiskeys like Glenfiddich and Balvenie, also owned by William Grant, are, quote, too complex and intimidating in choice and language. Okay, I would actually say expensive when you're new to drinking whiskey. So they make two editions. One's called the land cask and the other one's called the sea cask. What's the difference between the two? They're both made in the same distillery, but the land cask is peated, although it's peated with Highland peat as opposed to Isla peat, because Isla peat has a lot of seaweed and marine vegetation. It's quite a bit stronger. They call it more iodine, where Highland peat is mostly heather. You know, in the end, this is all rotted plant parts, right? And so you get a different flavor from Highland peat, a little lighter and sweeter. But they also mature the barrels in ex-bourbon and ex-sherry casks well inland from the shores. They call this their rich and smoky whiskey. And then the sea cask is basically the same production design, same kinds of barrels, but they're using the rack houses right on the sea. The argument being this adds a little saltiness and sort of a light and floral. You can find this at a Bevmo for $35 for an American, for a Scottish whiskey. It is a bargain. And it was originally produced to sell at Tesco. So
the
Tesco
big grocery
is
store,
a
right?
big grocery store chain in the UK, and they sold it for £30, often on sale for £20 because it hasn't sold very well. And there's a reason for that. This is a pretty basic whiskey. I wouldn't disagree that the sea cask is lighter because it is.
It even looks lighter. It looks a lot lighter. Yeah.
And of course, if you go and look at the whiskey reviews for it, all those people like complex whiskeys, and so they're going to be disappointed with this one.
Right.
I would call this, sometimes you call some whiskeys mostly harmless. This is completely harmless.
This would be for somebody like me who doesn't want any peat.
You want to drink a Scottish whiskey. You don't want to break the bank.
Yeah.
And it's not, what it isn't is harsh in any way.
Yeah.
But I would say it's very simple. It's kind of a one-noted basic whiskey. And they produce it that way. That's how they kept the price down. I strongly suspect that their barrels were heavily used. That these are barrels that they would no longer be willing to use in Balvenie. And so this sort of getting last cuts out of the barrel to make some inexpensive whiskey from it. So the only way they get the price down for a 10-year-old to £30 is to just lower the cost all around. They're using their scale of operations and their generations of barrel utilization to be able to make a very inexpensive whiskey. I'm probably not going to buy it, but I would not steer someone away from it who is just a little whiskey curious.
Okay.
Because it is really a Scottish whiskey and it's a 10-year-old. It'll by far the cheapest 10-year-old I've ever seen. Is it smooth? Yeah. It's pretty, like I said, it's gentle. There's not a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And, it's only 40%, so it's not really strong. It's certainly been colored. It's certainly been chill filtered. Like they've done all the processes to make this as easy to drink as possible and keep the price way, way, way down.
The drinkable Airstone Sea Cask.
But they created a separate name and a separate brand for this, I think, largely in conjunction with Tesco. So this is a very contemporary whiskey approach from an old school whiskey company. And I kind of celebrate that. Like, good on you guys. You're doing the new techniques with your own stuff and you'll be able to get the price down because you've got the materials already. But I've already crossed the line. I like a Balvenie and I think I'll drink that, admittedly, for $100 a bottle.
That, my friends, is Richard Campbell. You'll find him at home at runnersradio.com, and that's also where .NET rocks.
You'll never find him at home.
Well, that's the thing. That's his home on because you never know where he's going to be in the world.
When I get back from this trip, I am home for a whole 6 weeks, which is almost past the threshold for she who must be obeyed. So we'll see what happens with that.
So thank you, Richard. You get to go to bed a little bit early tonight?
Yeah, I'll be all right. I think I got to stop by the bar on the way, but I think they turned off the air in here because it's getting so late and the carbon dioxide level shot up. So I had to run over and pop the door open.
Richard, you're talking slowly. Is everything okay?
No, it was literally I was getting foggy in here.
Wow. Well, thank you, Richard. Get out there and have some fresh air in the bar. Paul Thurrott is saying so long to Paul Thurrott as well. He is the guy in charge at Thurrott.com and the man who does the books you'll see at leanpub.com, including Windows and Can I help you? My wife is standing here looking at me. I'm a little nervous. Okay, she's waiting for me to finish. That's making me really nervous. Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com, THURROTT.com, and of course, leanpub.com for Windows Everywhere and the Field Guide to Windows 11. So, Richard, are you going to stay in South Africa for a little bit, or?
Yeah, and I'm probably going to miss next week because I'm going to be on a game drive, and there's no internet where we're going to be.
How fun. You don't bring a gun on that, though. You bring a camera.
No, we bring camera, yeah. And then the following week in Sweden, so I will be on for that one.
What's the big game in Sweden?
It's the Moose.
The Moose.
The Moose.
Der Moose.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Paul. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. If you want to join us, you can, because we stream it live, so you can watch live and chat with us live. Club members, of course, get to chat in the Discord and watch in the Discord, the kind of the behind the velvet rope version. But there's also YouTube, Twitch, X.com, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Kick. So plenty of other places you can watch. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show at twit.tv/WW. There's also a YouTube channel dedicated to Windows Weekly. Great way to share clips with friends if there's something you saw that you think is great. In fact, one of the things we do is clip all of those whiskey stories. And Kevin King has made a playlist of whiskey tales. So if you like those, there's a whole bunch of them on our YouTube channel. I think that's at youtube.com/twit. I'm not sure. Maybe it's on.
I also put the redirect in for somethingweirdfrommycloset.com.
That's it. That's the place to go. Something weird from mycloset.com.
youtube.com/@twit.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that's it.
That's it. That sounds good. You seem like you know what you're doing with this computer thing.
You're not anymore. Not anymore.
Best way to get Windows Weekly, subscribe. That's what the winners do in your...
Uh-oh.
So fly by the... Subscribe in your favorite podcast client, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star review. So
is Lisa just throwing stuff at you now? What's happening?
Yeah. When Lisa wants attention, she's like a cat. She insists.
It's going to start knocking things.
Acknowledge me.
Did something fly across the thing here?
Yeah, it was a plate.
That's what I thought. It's going to be hitting me in the head, the next one. What was I saying? Oh, yes. Leave us a 5-star review because we appreciate the support. Also, subscribe to our newsletter. That's the best way to keep up on what's going on with the club and with all of our shows, twit.tv/newsletter. And, of course, that's free. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Ricardo.
See you, man.
Thank you all for being here, you winners and your dozers. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye. Get tech news that keeps you updated without eating up your time. Twit.tv's short-form podcasts are perfect for a break, commute, or just a quick and helpful tech insight. Hands on Mac and Hands on Windows give you tips to make the most of your devices, while Hands on Tech helps solve tech issues fast. And if home entertainment is your thing, Home Theater Geeks with Scott Wilkinson has the best recommendations on top-notch consumer entertainment systems. If you like watching the shows, join Club Twit to get full video access, ad-free versions, and more. Twit.tv, your trusted tech news made easy. Download our short format shows now at twit.tv or use your favorite podcast player.